The
next
night was
morning,
quiet in
Marissa
suburban
walked
Austin,
into the law
Texas,
office with her
when
head
Rachel
high,
Miller noticed
even though
something
inside,
unusual on the
her
kitchen
chest
counter.
felt like it was caving in.
It wasn't the usual
The
clutter of
receptionist
mail,
smiled
car
politely
keys,
and
or
ushered
her
her into a
husband's
polished
half-empty
conference
coffee
room
mug.
where her attorney, Nathaniel Pierce,
this was different.
waited.
It
He
was
was
a
a
small
sharp
velvet
man in
box,
his late 40s,
black,
crisp
sleek,
suit,
and
steel
brand
gray
new.
hair, and eyes
Her
that
hands
suggested
trembled
he'd
as she
seen
picked it
every
up.
trick in the book.
She hadn't seen
Mrs.
one of these
Hale,
in
he
years,
greeted her
not since
firmly,
her own
extending
engagement.
a hand.
Slowly,
Or should I
she
say
lifted
soon
the
to be
lid,
Miss Hale.
half expecting a cruel trick
His
her
confidence
imagination
steadied
was
her
playing on
nerves.
her.
For
But no,
weeks,
there
she'd
it
felt
was.
cornered, but now,
A
with
diamond
someone
ring.
finally on her side,
Elegant,
she felt the
shining
faintest
under the
flicker
kitchen
of
light,
control.
and far more extravagant
Nathaniel
than the modest
wasted no
ring her
time.
husband, Michael,
I've
had
reviewed
given her
your
12
case.
years ago when they were still in
Infidelity
college.
is clear, and given
Her
his
first thought was
behavior,
naive,
I believe we
hopeful.
can argue
Maybe
marital
he's planning a
misconduct.
surprise for me.
Do you want to pursue
Maybe
alimony,
after all
or
these
is this
years,
more
he
about
wants
closure?
to renew our vows.
Marissa thought for
Her
a
lips
moment.
curled into a faint smile.
Money wasn't her first concern,
But that smile
then
didn't
she
last
remembered
long,
Declan's smug face,
because
his
tucked beneath
dismissive
the ring
tone when she
box was a
confronted
small
him.
card.
He thought he
receipt
could
from a
betray her
high-end
and
jeweler
walk away
downtown.
untouched.
The date on it?
No.
Just
He had
last
to
week.
face consequences.
The engraving
I
request.
want what I deserve,
Two
she said
simple
firmly.
words. Forever,
I won't
Jessica.
be humiliated and left with
Jessica.
nothing after 10 years of
The
loyalty.
name hit Rachel like a bullet.
Nathaniel nodded approvingly.
She wasn't Jessica.
Good.
And Michael certainly
Then we'll
hadn't
play
married a
offense.
Jessica.
That
Her
evening,
chest
when
tightened.
Declan came home,
She clutched
Marissa
the
didn't
edge of the
flinch.
counter, trying to steady
She
her
was
breath.
sitting at the kitchen table,
No,
her divorce papers neatly
this has to
stacked
be a
in front of her.
mistake.
What's
But deep
this?
inside, her gut
Declan
screamed the
asked,
truth she
his
didn't
voice
want to
tight.
face.
Papers,
Rachel had
she
always
said
trusted
evenly.
Michael.
I've
He
filed.
was the stable one, the
You'll
man
hear from
who
my
paid the
lawyer
bills on
soon.
time, kissed her
His
forehead
jaw
before
clenched.
work, and made
You're
pancakes
really
for their
doing
daughter,
this.
Sophie, every
I'm
Sunday
really
morning.
doing this, she replied,
He wasn't the type
her tone
to
calm
cheat.
but laced with steel.
At least, that's
For
what
a
she had
moment,
always
he
believed.
looked stunned, as though
But
he
now,
hadn't
with
expected
that
her
ring
to
in her
actually
hand and
follow
another
through.
woman's name engraved
Then,
inside,
his face
Rachel's
darkened.
reality began to fracture.
You think you're going to bleed me
She
dry?
replayed the past few months
Take
in her
everything
head,
I've worked
searching
for.
for clues she had brushed
Marissa
off before.
leaned forward.
The late-night
No,
work
Declan.
calls, the sudden weekend
I don't
business
need to
trips
take
to Houston,
everything.
the way he had
I
started
just
wearing
need to make
cologne
sure
again
you don't
after
walk
years
away
of barely
thinking
caring
betrayal
about his
comes without a
appearance.
cost.
Even the way
His
he locked his
nostrils
phone
flared.
screen a little faster when she
You're
walked into the
overreacting.
room. Pieces
Affairs
of the puzzle
happen.
she had ignored were now
People
crashing
move past
together.
them.
Still,
Not this one,
Rachel
she
wasn't the type
interrupted
to
sharply.
explode in anger.
Not after the
Not
lies,
yet.
the humiliation,
She needed
the way you
proof,
reduced
more
me
than
to
just a ring.
convenience.
Her heart
Don't you dare
ached, but her
minimize what
mind
you
was
did to
already
me.
calculating.
The tension
If
between them
Michael
was
thought
electric,
he could build a
each
second
word a
life
weapon,
behind her
each
back,
glare a line
then she
drawn
would find
deeper
out
in the
every
sand.
detail of it.
Declan
That
stormed
night,
out,
long after
slamming the
Michael
door
had
so
fallen
hard the
asleep
frame
beside her,
rattled.
Rachel lay awake,
Marissa
her
sat
body
alone,
stiff,
shaking,
her mind racing.
but she didn't cry.
She turned toward
Not
him,
this time.
studying his face in the
In
dim
the
light
days
of the
that
bedside
followed,
lamp.
the battle lines grew
He
clearer.
looked peaceful, almost
Letters
innocent,
from
like
attorneys
the
flew
man she
back
had
and
fallen
forth.
in love with years ago.
Declan hired his own
But
lawyer,
now, all
a
she
smug
could see
man
was
named
betrayal
Robert
hidden
Crane,
under that
who
calm
seemed more
exterior.
interested in intimidation
She
than
whispered to
negotiation.
herself, "Who is Jessica?"
He demanded spousal
The next
support,
morning,
a hefty
Rachel
share
tucked the
of
ring
Marissa's
box back
savings,
into the exact
even
spot on the
partial
counter,
ownership of her
careful
small
not to
graphic
leave any
design
trace
business.
that she had seen it.
Nathaniel
She
scoffed
needed him
at the
to believe
demands.
that his secret was still
They're
safe.
throwing mud to see what
For now.
sticks, he assured her.
But inside,
we
Rachel's
have
resolve
leverage.
hardened.
His
She would
adultery,
uncover the
your
truth.
documentation, the
She
messages.
would follow the trail, no matter
It's
how
all
painful
admissible.
it became.
Still,
And if Michael
the
thought he
process
could
was
humiliate her
exhausting.
by marrying someone else,
Depositions.
well, he had no idea what
Statements.
storm was about to hit him.
Long nights sifting
Because
through
Rachel
financial
wasn't
records.
just a wife.
Every step
was a
felt like
woman
a reminder
scorned.
of Declan's betrayal.
And a woman
each legal
scorned is
form
far
a
more
scar
dangerous
etched
than
into the
any
story
secret
of their
he thought he
broken
could
marriage.
keep. This
And
was
yet,
no longer
Marissa
just about
found
betrayal.
strength in the fight.
This was war.
With every meeting, every
And Rachel
signature,
was ready to
she
fight.
felt less like a victim and more like a survivor reclaiming her voice. One night, over wine with her friend Danielle, she confessed, "I thought this divorce would crush me. But honestly, it feels like I'm finally standing up for myself." Danielle squeezed her hand. "That's because you are. He thought you'd roll over, but look at you, you're fighting. And you're winning." Marissa smiled faintly, realizing Danielle was right. For so long, she'd been trapped in the shadows of Declan's lies, but now, the battle itself was pulling her into the light. The war wasn't over, not by a long shot. But the battlefield was set, and Marissa was ready. The next
following
morning,
days dragged
Marissa
on like
walked
an
into the
endless
law
nightmare
office
for
with her
Rachel.
head high, even though
Every
inside,
sound,
her
every
chest
movement
felt like
Michael
it was
made
caving
seemed
in.
amplified, like
The
her senses were
receptionist
sharpened
smiled
by
politely
betrayal.
and ushered her into a
She
polished
studied him
conference room where
quietly,
her attorney,
hiding her knowledge
Nathaniel
behind a
Pierce,
mask of
waited.
normalcy.
He was a
Michael
sharp
came
man in
home
his
late
late
again on
40s,
Tuesday.
crisp suit, steel
His
gray
tie
hair,
loosened,
and
his
eyes
phone
that
buzzing in his
suggested he'd
pocket,
seen
a
every
faint
trick in the
cologne
book.
lingering that didn't belong to him.
Mrs. Hale, he
Rachel
greeted her
him
firmly,
with a smile,
extending a
the
hand.
same warm smile she had
Or should
given
I
him
say
for
soon to
years,
be Miss
but
Hale.
inside her stomach twisted.
His confidence steadied her
How
nerves.
was Houston? She asked
For
casually,
weeks,
setting
she'd felt
down a
cornered,
plate of spaghetti
but now,
at the dinner
with
table.
someone finally on her side,
Michael froze
she
for
felt
just
the
a
faintest
second,
flicker
the
of
kind
control.
of pause most people wouldn't
Nathaniel
notice.
wasted no time.
But Rachel noticed everything
I've
now.
reviewed your case.
Fine, he
Infidelity
said,
is
shrugging.
clear, and given his behavior,
Meetings all
I
day.
believe we can argue marital
Exhausting.
misconduct.
Rachel
Do you want
nodded,
to pursue
stabbing
alimony,
at her
or
pasta
is
with
this
her
more
fork.
about closure?
Across the
Marissa
table,
thought for a
Sophie
moment.
twirled noodles around her spoon,
Money wasn't her
chattering
first
about
concern,
her soccer practice.
but then she remembered Declan's smug
Michael
face,
smiled and
his
ruffled her
dismissive
hair,
tone when
playing
she
the role of the
confronted him.
perfect dad.
He thought he
And
could
yet
betray
Rachel
her
couldn't
and walk
shake the
away
image of that
untouched.
ring, of the name Jessica etched into the gold.
He had to face consequences.
Later that night, when Sophie
I
was
want what I
asleep and
deserve,
the house was
she
quiet,
said firmly.
Rachel waited for Michael to
I won't
shower.
be humiliated and left
Then
with
she
nothing
picked up
after
his
10
phone.
years of loyalty.
He never left it
Nathaniel
unguarded
nodded
anymore,
approvingly.
but tonight he had forgotten it on the
Good.
nightstand.
Then we'll
Her
play
heart
offense.
pounded as she swiped the screen.
That evening, when Declan
Locked.
came home, Marissa
She
didn't
tried
flinch.
his usual passcode,
She was
Sophie's
sitting
birthday.
at the kitchen table, her divorce
Denied.
papers neatly stacked in
Again.
front of her.
Denied.
What's this?
A third
Declan
time.
asked, his
The
voice
phone
tight.
froze.
Papers,
Rachel
she said
cursed under
evenly.
her breath and tossed it
I
back
filed.
just as the water shut off in
You'll
the bathroom.
hear from my lawyer soon.
Her pulse raced,
His
but
jaw
she forced
clenched.
herself under the covers,
You're really
pretending
doing
to
this.
scroll through her own phone
I'm
when
really
Michael
doing
walked
this,
in.
she replied,
His hair
her tone
damp,
calm
his
but
smile
laced with
casual,
steel.
as if nothing in the
For
world
a
was
moment,
wrong.
he looked stunned,
But Rachel
as though
knew
he
better.
hadn't expected her to
The
actually
next
follow
morning,
through.
after Michael left for work,
Then, his
Rachel
face
sat at the
darkened.
kitchen table with her laptop.
You think you're going to bleed me dry?
She searched through their bank
Take
statements,
everything I've
credit
worked
card
for.
bills, anything that might
Marissa
reveal
leaned
where he had
forward.
been spending his time.
No, Declan.
And there it was.
I don't need to take
Charges
everything.
in San Antonio.
I just need to make sure
Hotel
you don't walk
stays.
away thinking betrayal comes
Fancy
without
restaurants.
a cost.
Even
His
a floral
nostrils
boutique
flared.
receipt that made her chest ache.
You're
He
overreacting.
hadn't bought her flowers in years.
Affairs happen.
Her eyes
People
stung with
moved past
tears,
them.
but she refused to let
Not
them
this
fall.
one, she interrupted
This
sharply.
wasn't the time for weakness.
Not after the lies,
This was
the
the time for
humiliation,
answers.
the way you reduced me to
Rachel called her
convenience.
old college friend,
Don't you
Megan,
dare minimize
who worked
what
as a
you did to me.
paralegal in Austin.
The tension between
Megan
them
was
was
sharp,
electric, each
resourceful,
word a weapon,
and most
each glare a
importantly,
line
loyal.
drawn deeper in the sand.
I think Michael is cheating,
Declan stormed
Rachel
out,
confessed over
slamming
the phone,
the door so
her
hard
voice
the
trembling.
frame rattled.
There was silence
Marissa
on the
sat
other
alone,
end. Then
shaking,
Megan said
but
firmly,
she didn't
"Do you
cry.
want me to help you find out?"
Not this time.
Yes, Rachel
In the
whispered.
days that followed, the battle
need
lines
proof.
grew clearer.
Real proof.
Letters from attorneys flew
That
back and
weekend,
forth.
Rachel and Megan
Declan
followed
hired
Michael.
his own lawyer, a
They
smug
parked
man
2
named
blocks
Robert
away
Crane,
from his
who
supposed
seemed more
conference.
interested in intimidation
Rachel's
than
hands
negotiation.
were sweaty on the steering wheel
He
as she
demanded
watched him
spousal
step out of his
support,
car,
a hefty share
straightening
of
his suit
Marissa's
jacket.
savings, even
He
partial
looked every
ownership
bit
of
the
her small
successful
graphic design
businessman,
business.
but Rachel's stomach churned.
Nathaniel scoffed
And
at the
then
demands.
she saw her.
They're throwing
Jessica.
mud to see what sticks,
Tall,
he assured
blonde, dressed in a
her.
pale
But we
blue
have
dress that
leverage.
clung to her curves.
His adultery,
She
your
laughed as Michael
documentation,
kissed her
the
cheek.
messages.
No, not her cheek.
It's all admissible.
Her lips.
Still, the
Right there in
process was
public,
exhausting.
as if their lives weren't built on lies.
Depositions.
Rachel's
Statements.
nails dug into her palms.
Long nights sifting through
She wanted to
financial
storm out of the
records.
car, to scream,
Every step
to rip
felt
the
like a
fantasy
reminder of
apart in front
Declan's
of Jessica's
betrayal,
perfect
each
smile.
legal form a scar etched
But
into
Megan
the story
grabbed
of
her
their
arm.
broken marriage.
Not yet,
And yet,
Megan whispered.
Marissa found strength in the
You
fight.
need to think bigger.
With every meeting,
You need to hit
every
him where it
signature,
hurts.
she felt less like a
Rachel's
victim and
breath
more like
came
a
in
survivor
shaky bursts.
reclaiming her voice.
Her entire body
One night,
screamed for
over
confrontation,
wine with her friend
but
Danielle,
Megan was right.
she confessed, I
If
thought
Michael
this
could plan a
divorce
whole
would crush
second
me.
life in secret,
But
then
honestly,
Rachel had to be smarter, more
It feels
calculated.
like I'm finally standing up
She
for
slumped
myself.
against the seat, her eyes
Danielle
locked on her
squeezed
husband
her
and the
hand.
other woman as they disappeared
That's
into the
because you
hotel
are.
together.
He thought
Inside
you'd roll
her,
over,
rage
but look
boiled.
at you, you're fighting.
But beneath the rage,
And you're
something
winning.
colder formed.
Marissa smiled
plan.
faintly, realizing
Michael
Danielle
wanted
was
a
right.
second wedding.
For so
He
long,
wanted to humiliate
she'd been
her with
trapped
this
in the
woman,
shadows of
this
Declan's
Jessica.
lies. But now,
Fine.
the battle itself was
Rachel
pulling
would
her
let
into
him
the
dig
light.
his grave.
The war
And
wasn't
when the
over,
day came,
not by a
she
long
would make
shot.
sure the world watched him
But
fall
the
into it.
battlefield was set,
This
and
wasn't
Marissa
just
was
about
ready.
betrayal anymore. This was about justice. Rachel whispered to herself, "You chose the wrong woman to cross, Michael." And in that moment, she wasn't just a wife in pain, she was a storm preparing to break.
The
Rachel
next
couldn't
morning,
erase the
Marissa
image of
walked into the
Michael and
law
Jessica
office with her
outside
head
that
high,
hotel.
even though inside,
It haunted
her
her
chest
every
felt like
time
it
she
was caving
closed her
in.
eyes.
The
The way
receptionist
he held
smiled
Jessica's
politely and
hand,
ushered
the
her
way
into
he
a
kissed her
polished
with the ease
conference
of a
room where
man who
her
had been living
attorney,
a double
Nathaniel
life for far
Pierce,
too long.
waited.
But
He
what
was a
ate at
sharp man
Rachel
in his
more than
late
the betrayal
40s,
was the
crisp
confidence.
suit, steel gray hair,
Michael
and
wasn't
eyes
just
that
cheating,
suggested
he
he'd
was
seen
thriving
every
in his
trick in the
deception.
book.
He had
Mrs.
no
Hale,
idea
he
his wife
greeted
had
her
already
firmly,
uncovered his
extending
dirty
a
little
hand.
secret.
Or should
And
I
that
say
ignorance
soon-to-be
gave
Miss
Rachel an
Hale?
advantage.
His
A
confidence
week
steadied her
later,
nerves.
while folding laundry in the
For
bedroom,
weeks,
Rachel
she'd
noticed
felt
Michael's
cornered,
briefcase
but
sitting
now,
open
with
by the
someone
desk.
finally on her side, she
Normally,
felt the
she wouldn't
faintest
touch
flicker
it.
of control.
But trust had long
Nathaniel
been burned
wasted
to
no
ashes.
time.
She
I've
slipped her
reviewed your
hand
case.
inside, rifling through
Infidelity
documents
is
and loose
clear,
papers
and
until
given
her
his
fingers
behavior,
brushed
I
something
believe
thick,
we can
an
argue marital
envelope.
misconduct.
She pulled it out.
Do you want to pursue alimony,
Heavy
or is
cardstock,
this more about
embossed
closure?
letters, a golden ribbon
Marissa
tied
thought
neatly
for a
across the
moment.
front.
Money
She
wasn't
didn't
her
even
first
need to
concern,
open it to know.
but then she remembered
Her
Declan's
stomach
smug
sank as
face,
she peeled
his
it apart.
dismissive tone when she confronted
Inside
him.
was an invitation.
He thought he could betray
Her
her
eyes
and walk
darted
away
across the
untouched.
words, her breath catching in her
No.
throat.
He had to
You are
face
cordially
consequences.
invited to celebrate the union
I
of
want
Michael
what I
Miller
deserve,
and Jessica
she said
Hayes.
firmly.
Date,
I won't
September
be humiliated
14th.
and left with nothing after 10
Location,
years of loyalty.
St. Augustine Chapel,
Nathaniel
San
nodded
Antonio,
approvingly.
Texas.
Good.
Rachel's hands trembled so
Then we'll play
violently she
offense.
almost dropped it.
That evening,
It was
when
real.
Declan came home,
Not just an
Marissa
affair.
didn't flinch.
Not just
She
a
was
fling.
sitting at the kitchen table,
Michael was
her divorce
planning to marry
papers neatly
Jessica.
stacked in front of her.
And the wedding wasn't months
What's
away.
this?
It was
Declan
less than
asked,
3 weeks.
his voice tight.
Her vision blurred
Papers,
as she
she
reread
said
the names
evenly.
over and over.
I've filed.
Michael Miller,
You'll hear from my lawyer
Jessica
soon.
Hayes.
His
As
jaw
if their
clenched.
real marriage, her marriage,
You're really
didn't even
doing this?
exist.
I'm
As
really
if
doing
Rachel
this,
and Sophie
she
were
replied,
invisible obstacles
her tone
Michael
calm
could
but
sweep
laced
aside with a
steel.
golden ribbon and fancy
For a
cardstock.
moment, he looked stunned,
But then
as though
something
he hadn't
shifted
expected
inside
her
Rachel.
to actually follow through.
The despair, the disbelief,
his
the
face
tears,
darkened.
all of it hardened into
You think
something
you're going
sharper.
to bleed me dry?
A blade of
Take
resolve.
everything I've worked for.
He wanted to invite
Marissa
hundreds of
leaned
people to
forward.
witness his new, happily
No,
ever after.
Declan.
Fine.
I don't need to take everything.
Rachel would be there too.
I just need to make sure you
And
don't
she
walk
wouldn't
away
just
thinking
attend.
betrayal comes without a cost.
She would destroy the illusion he had
His
built,
nostrils
piece by
flared.
piece, until all
You're
those polished
overreacting.
smiles and glass clinks turned
Affairs
into
happen.
gasps of horror.
People move
That
past
night
them.
at dinner, Rachel
Not
studied
this
Michael
one,
as he
she
sat across
interrupted
from
sharply.
her, twirling spaghetti around
Not
his
after
fork
the
just
lies,
like
the
always.
humiliation, the way
Sophie
you reduced
chattered
me
about
to
her science
convenience.
project, and Michael nodded
Don't you dare minimize
absent-mindedly,
what you did
his
to
phone
me.
buzzing on the table
The
beside him.
tension between them was electric,
Rachel forced a
each word a
smile.
weapon, each glare a
Long
line
day at
drawn
work.
deeper in the sand.
Michael glanced up,
Declan
a
stormed
flicker
out,
of guilt crossing
slamming
his
the door
face
so
before he
hard the
smoothed
frame
it over.
rattled.
Yeah,
Marissa sat alone,
just meetings.
shaking, but she didn't cry.
San Antonio again?
Not this time.
Rachel asked,
In the
testing
days
him.
that followed, the battle
Michael
lines grew
hesitated,
clearer.
then shook his head.
Letters from attorneys
No,
flew back and
Houston
forth.
this time.
Declan hired
Rachel
his
bit
own
into her
lawyer,
garlic
a
bread,
smug man
chewing
named
slowly,
Robert Crane,
her heart
who seemed
pounding.
more interested in
He
intimidation
could lie
than
so easily
negotiation.
now.
He demanded
Effortless.
spousal support,
But
a
she
hefty
had the
share of
invitation hidden
Marissa's
beneath
savings,
the pile of
even
folded
partial
towels
ownership of her
upstairs,
small
proof
graphic
that his
design
words
business.
were nothing but poison.
Nathaniel scoffed
After
at the
Sophie
demands.
went to bed, Rachel
They're
excused
throwing
herself
mud
and
to see
stepped
what
into the
sticks,
backyard.
he assured her.
She called Megan,
But we have
her
leverage.
voice low but steady.
His adultery,
You're not
your
going to believe
documentation,
this, she
the
said.
messages.
It's not
It's
just
all
an affair.
admissible.
It's a
Still,
wedding.
the process was
He's marrying
exhausting.
her in San Antonio.
Depositions,
3 weeks.
statements,
There was a long silence,
long nights
then
sifting
Megan
through
cursed
financial
under her
records.
breath.
Every
Oh my
step
God,
felt like
Rachel.
a reminder of Declan's betrayal, each
That's
legal
insane.
form a scar etched into the
What are you
story
going to
of their
do?
broken marriage.
Rachel's grip on
And
the
yet,
phone tightened.
Marissa found strength in
Her
the fight.
eyes burned, but her voice
With
was
every
cold.
meeting, every signature,
I'm going to
she
be
felt
there.
less like a victim and
I'm
more
going
like
to
a
walk into
survivor
that chapel
reclaiming her
and show
voice.
everyone exactly who Michael
One
Miller
night,
really is.
over wine with her friend Danielle,
gasped.
she confessed, I
You
thought
mean,
this
in
divorce
front
would
of the
crush me.
guests?
But
Yes.
honestly,
In
it
front of
feels like
everyone.
I'm finally standing up for
Rachel's
myself.
lips curled into the faintest
Danielle
smile,
squeezed
though her
her
heart
hand.
thudded painfully in her
That's
chest.
because you are.
He wanted a
He
perfect
thought you'd
fairy
roll
tale.
over, but look at you.
I'll give him
you're
a nightmare
fighting.
instead.
And you're winning.
Over the next few days,
Marissa
Rachel
smiled
began to
faintly,
prepare.
realizing Danielle
She
was
quietly
right.
set money aside,
For so
arranging
long,
for her mother
she'd
to
been
take
trapped
care
in
of
the
Sophie
shadows
the
of
weekend of
Declan's
the wedding.
lies, but now,
She
the
bought a
battle
sleek
itself
black
was
dress,
pulling her into the
classy,
light.
understated,
The
the
war
kind of
wasn't
dress
over,
that demanded
not by a
attention
long
without
shot.
screaming desperation.
But the battlefield was
She
set,
rehearsed what
and
she would
Marissa
say,
was ready.
imagining the gasps, the stunned faces of Jessica's family, the look of horror on Michael's smug expression. At night, when Michael curled up beside her in bed, Rachel stared at the ceiling, her mind racing. He thought he was in control. He thought she was still the oblivious wife, folding laundry and cooking dinners. But Michael had underestimated her. He had forgotten that beneath the quiet exterior, Rachel was a fighter. And when fighters are cornered, they strike back with everything they have. The wedding invitation had been meant for guests who would celebrate Michael's new beginning. Instead, it had lit the fuse for his downfall. And Rachel couldn't wait to light the match. Rachel had always believed she knew Michael inside and out.
With her head high, even
After
though
all,
inside,
they'd been together
her chest
for
felt
over a
like it was
decade,
caving in.
through college debts,
The
their first
receptionist
tiny
smiled
apartment,
politely and
Sophie's
ushered her
birth,
into a
the house
polished
in the
conference
suburbs.
room where her attorney,
She
Nathaniel
knew the way
Pierce,
he tapped
waited.
his pen when he was lying,
He was
the
a
way he
sharp man
scratched
in his
behind
late
his ear
40s,
when he was
crisp
nervous.
suit, steel gray
But
hair,
now,
and eyes
sitting
that
across from
suggested
him at
he'd seen
breakfast,
every trick in
Rachel
the book.
realized there was an entire
Mrs.
version
Hale,
of Michael she
he
didn't
greeted
know at
her
all.
firmly, extending
A man
hand.
who could smile at his daughter
should
while
I say
secretly
soon to be
planning to
Miss
marry
Hale.
another woman.
His
Don't
confidence steadied
forget,
her nerves.
Soph, I'll take you to practice
For
tomorrow,
weeks,
Michael
she'd felt
said,
cornered,
sipping
but
his
now,
coffee.
with someone finally
His
on her
voice
side,
was warm,
she felt
natural,
the faintest flicker
so
of
convincingly
control.
normal that Rachel almost
Nathaniel
doubted the
wasted
truth
no
she held
time.
upstairs in her nightstand
I've
drawer.
reviewed your case.
Almost.
Infidelity is
She
clear,
forced a
and
smile.
given his behavior, I
That's
believe
nice
we
of
can
you,
argue marital
Michael.
misconduct.
Inside,
Do you
her
want to
stomach
pursue
twisted.
alimony, or is this more
How do you
about
look
closure?
me in the eye after everything?
Marissa thought for a
That
moment.
night, after Michael drifted
Money
off
wasn't
to
her
sleep,
first concern,
Rachel crept
but
downstairs.
then she remembered Declan's smug
She
face,
opened her
his
laptop and
dismissive
created a
tone when she
folder,
confronted
labeling
him.
it simply,
He
proof.
thought he could betray her
She
and walk
began
away
pulling
untouched.
everything together, the jewelry
No.
receipt, the hotel
He had to
charges,
face
photos
consequences.
she and Megan had snapped from
I
their
want
car.
what I deserve, she
And
said
at the
firmly.
center of it all, the wedding
I won't be
invitation.
humiliated and left with
Every
nothing
piece
after
of
10
evidence
years
was
of
another
loyalty.
nail in the coffin Michael was
Nathaniel
building for
nodded
himself.
approvingly.
But Rachel
Good.
wasn't just collecting proof
Then
for her
we'll play
own
a
sanity
fence.
anymore.
That evening,
wanted a
when
weapon.
Declan came home, Marissa
Something
didn't
undeniable.
flinch. She was
Something that
sitting
would
at the
shatter
kitchen
Michael's
table,
mask in
her
front of
divorce
everyone he was
papers
trying
neatly
to
stacked in
impress.
front of her.
She thought about
What's this?
hiring a private investigator,
Declan asked,
someone who could
his
follow
voice
Michael
tight.
and Jessica and document
Papers,
every kiss,
she said
every
evenly.
touch.
I've
But
filed.
Megan reminded her of something
You'll hear from
important
my
during
lawyer
one of their
soon.
late-night calls.
His jaw clenched.
Rachel, Megan said,
You're really
her
doing
voice
this.
low, men like Michael
I'm
don't
really
just lie
doing
about
this,
love.
she replied,
They
her
lie
tone
about
calm
everything.
but laced with steel.
You don't need every
For a
detail.
moment, he looked stunned,
You just
as
need
though
the right
he hadn't
detail.
expected her to actually
The
follow
one thing
through.
that will cut through all his excuses.
Then, his face darkened.
Rachel mulled over
You
those
think
words
you're going
for
to
days.
bleed me dry?
The right
Take
detail.
everything I've worked for.
The right piece of evidence.
Marissa leaned forward.
It came to her unexpectedly one
Declan.
Friday morning.
I don't need to take
Michael
everything.
had left his laptop open on
I
the
just
dining
need to make
table
sure
while
you
he
don't
helped
walk
Sophie
away
find her
thinking
missing
betrayal
cleats.
comes without a cost.
His work email
His
glowed on the
nostrils
screen.
flared.
Rachel's
You're
heart pounded
overreacting.
as she slid into the chair.
Affairs happen.
She scrolled through
People
his
move
inbox.
past them.
Meetings,
Not this
contracts,
one, she interrupted
proposals,
sharply.
then a folder labeled
Not
personal.
after the lies, the
Inside were
humiliation,
dozens of
the way you
emails
reduced
between
me
him
to
and Jessica.
convenience.
Plans
Don't
about
you
their
dare
new house in
minimize
San
what you did to
Antonio.
me. The
Conversations
tension between
about
them
how
was electric,
free he
each
felt
word a
with her.
weapon, each glare a
Even
line drawn
photographs,
deeper in the sand.
selfies of the two of them,
Declan
smiling like
stormed out,
teenagers,
slamming
their
the
arms
door
wrapped
so
around
hard
each
the
other.
frame rattled.
And then Rachel
Marissa
found
sat
it.
alone, shaking,
scanned
but she
document.
didn't cry.
A marriage
Not
license
this time.
application.
In the days
His
that
name.
followed, the battle lines
Jessica's
grew
name.
clearer.
His
Letters from
signature,
attorneys
bold
flew
and
back
smug
and
at the
forth.
bottom.
Declan
blood
hired his
ran
own
cold.
lawyer, a smug man
This
named
wasn't just
Robert Crane,
infidelity,
who
it
seemed
was
more
fraud.
interested in intimidation
Bigamy.
than negotiation.
A crime.
He demanded spousal
She snapped
support,
photos
a
of
hefty
everything
share
with her
of
phone,
Marissa's savings,
her hands shaking
even
but
partial
steady enough
ownership
to
of her
capture
small
every
graphic
damning
design
detail.
business.
When Michael
Nathaniel
returned,
scoffed
she
at
was
the
already
demands.
back in the kitchen,
They're
calmly
throwing
rinsing
mud to
Sophie's
see what
cereal bowl
sticks,
as though
he
nothing
assured
had
her.
happened.
But we
That
have
night,
leverage.
Rachel stared at her phone
His
under the
adultery,
covers,
your
scrolling through
documentation,
the images
the
she had
messages.
captured.
It's
Each
all
one
admissible.
felt like a blade pressed against
Still,
Michael's throat,
the process
not enough
was
to cut yet,
exhausting.
but enough to remind her of the
Depositions.
power she now held.
Statements.
The next day, Megan
Long
met her
nights
for
sifting
coffee.
through financial records.
Rachel slid the phone across
Every
the
step
table.
felt like a reminder of
It's all
Declan's
here.
betrayal, each legal
The
form a
emails,
scar etched into the story of
license,
their broken marriage.
Everything.
And yet, Marissa
Megan's
found
eyes
strength in the
widened
fight.
as she scrolled.
With every meeting,
Rachel,
every
this is it.
signature, she felt less
This
like a
isn't just
victim and
catching
more
him in
like
a
a
lie.
survivor reclaiming her voice.
This could ruin him legally.
One night, over
Rachel
wine with
stirred
her
her
friend
coffee,
Danielle,
her jaw
she
tight.
confessed, I thought this
Good.
divorce would crush me.
He wanted to build a new
But
life
honestly,
on lies.
It feels
I'll
like
make
I'm
sure he
finally
loses
standing up
everything
for
in the
myself.
process.
Danielle
Still,
squeezed her
there was a
hand.
part of Rachel that ached.
That's because you are.
At night, She would
He
look
thought
at
you'd
Michael
roll
lying
over,
peacefully
but look at
beside
you,
her and
you're
wonder,
fighting.
did he ever really love her?
And you're winning.
Or had she been
Marissa
nothing more than a
smiled faintly,
placeholder until
realizing
someone
Danielle
younger,
was right.
shinier came along?
For so long,
But the pain
she'd
was
been
quickly
trapped in the
swallowed by
shadows
her
of Declan's
determination.
lies, but now,
She
the
refused
battle
to let him
itself
walk
was
away
pulling her into
unscathed,
the light.
leaving her and Sophie
The
as
war
collateral
wasn't over,
damage.
not by a long shot.
As the wedding day drew
But the
closer, Michael
battlefield
grew
was
more
set,
distracted,
and Marissa
his
was
lies
ready.
more clumsy. He told Rachel he was traveling for a conference, but his suitcase contained cufflinks Rachel had never seen before. He left behind a half-written vow in his desk drawer, words meant for Jessica, dripping with false devotion. Rachel memorized every word. The mask was slipping. And Rachel was ready to be the one to rip it off completely. She whispered to herself in the dark, her voice steady, "You can play your double life, Michael. But the curtain is about to fall. And when it does, I'll be the one standing in the spotlight."
The
Rachel
next
had
morning,
always imagined
Marissa
herself
walked
as
into
the
the
kind
law
of woman
office
who
with
would
her
walk
head
away
high,
quietly
even
when
though
betrayed.
inside, her chest felt like
Dignified.
it was caving in.
Silent.
The receptionist
But
smiled
dignity had
politely
no
and
place
ushered
here,
her into a
not when
polished
Michael was
conference room
planning
where
to
her
marry
attorney,
another woman while
Nathaniel
still
Pierce,
legally tied
waited.
to her.
He was
This
a
wasn't
sharp
just
man in his
betrayal.
late 40s, crisp
It was
suit,
war.
steel gray hair,
She
and
stared at the
eyes that
stack of
suggested he'd
evidence on her
seen every
nightstand,
trick in the
the
book.
jewelry receipt, the
Mrs.
hotel
Hale,
charges,
he greeted
the
her
emails,
firmly,
and,
extending
most
a hand.
damning of all, the
Or
marriage
should I
license
say soon to be
application.
Miss Hale.
Each piece
His
was a reminder
confidence
of the
steadied her
life he was
nerves.
trying to erase her from,
For
as if
weeks,
she and
she'd
Sophie
felt
were
cornered,
disposable
but now,
footnotes.
with someone finally
Rachel
on her
wasn't
side, she
disposable.
felt the faintest flicker
And
of
she
control.
wasn't going to let Michael rewrite
Nathaniel
history without a
wasted no
fight.
time.
The wedding
I've
was set
reviewed
for
your
San
case.
Antonio.
Infidelity is
picturesque
clear,
vineyard
and
just
given his
outside the
behavior,
city.
I believe we can argue
Jessica's
marital
dream venue,
misconduct.
no doubt, a
Do you
rustic
want to
barn
pursue
strung with
alimony,
fairy lights,
or is this more
Instagram
about
perfect.
closure?
Rachel
Marissa
could
thought
already
for a
picture
moment.
it. Jessica in lace,
Money wasn't
Michael
her
in a
first
tux,
concern,
guests
but then she
applauding as they
remembered
vowed
Declan's
to a
smug
future
face,
built on
his
lies.
dismissive tone when she
Not if
confronted
Rachel
him.
had anything to say about
He
it.
thought he could betray her
The
and
thought of
walk
showing
away
up there made her
untouched.
pulse race, equal
No.
parts fear and
He
exhilaration.
had to face consequences.
She knew what she wanted to do.
I want what I
Stand up
deserve,
in front of
she said
everyone and
firmly.
expose him.
I won't be
But the
humiliated
execution
and left
mattered.
with nothing after 10
This
years of
wasn't
loyalty.
just about humiliating Michael.
Nathaniel nodded approvingly.
This was about reclaiming her voice.
Good.
She
Then
began
we'll play
to plan.
offense.
First,
That evening,
she booked a
when
hotel
Declan
room
came
near the
home,
venue under her
Marissa
maiden
didn't
name,
flinch.
just in case Michael or
She was
Jessica
sitting
had
at the
eyes
kitchen
watching.
table, her divorce
She
papers
packed
neatly
carefully,
stacked in
a
front
navy
of her.
blue dress,
What's
understated but
this?
powerful, heels she
Declan
hadn't worn
asked,
in
his
years,
voice
a
tight.
sleek clutch where she'd tuck her
Papers,
phone loaded
she
with
said
evidence.
evenly.
No
I've
screaming
filed.
or drama, her
You'll
weapon
hear
would be
from
the
my
truth.
lawyer soon.
Megan,
His
of
jaw
course,
clenched.
insisted on coming.
You're really doing this?
Rachel, you're not doing
I'm
this
really
alone.
doing this, she replied,
If he tries to
her tone
gaslight you
calm
in front
but
of
laced with
everyone,
steel.
I'll be there to back you up.
For a moment, he looked
Plus,
stunned,
she
as though
smirked.
he hadn't
Every queen
expected her
needs
to
her hype
actually
woman.
follow through.
Rachel smiled
Then,
despite
his face
herself.
darkened.
Fine.
You think you're going to bleed me dry?
But this is my moment.
Take everything I've
You
worked
took
for.
enough from me.
Marissa
I
leaned
need to
forward.
take this back myself.
No, Declan.
The night before the trip,
I don't need
Rachel
to
sat
take
on
everything.
Sophie's bed, watching
I
her
just
daughter
need to
sleep.
make sure you don't walk away
Sophie's
thinking
curls
betrayal
were
comes
spread
without
across
a
the
cost.
pillow, her tiny chest
His
rising
nostrils
and falling
flared.
with each breath.
You're overreacting.
Rachel's throat tightened.
Affairs happen.
Was she doing the right thing?
People move past them.
She thought about how Michael's
Not this
choices
one,
would
she
day affect
interrupted
Sophie.
sharply.
The lies.
Not after the lies, the
shame,
humiliation, the way you
the
reduced me
whispers.
to convenience.
Rachel wanted to
Don't
shield
you
her
dare
from all of
minimize
it.
what you did to me.
Maybe by
The
exposing Michael
tension
now,
between them
she
was
could
electric,
protect Sophie
each
later.
word a weapon, each glare a
Mommy's
line
got
drawn
you,
deeper
she
in the
whispered,
sand.
brushing a curl from her
Declan
daughter's
stormed
forehead.
out, slamming the door
Always.
so hard the frame rattled.
The next morning,
Marissa
she and
sat
Megan
alone,
hit the road.
shaking, but she
The
didn't
highway
cry.
stretched endlessly,
Not
the
this
Texas
time.
sun beating down on the
In
windshield.
the days that followed, the
air
battle
in the
lines
car
grew
buzzed
clearer.
with unspoken anticipation.
Letters from attorneys flew back
At
and
one
forth.
point, Megan broke the
Declan
silence.
hired his own lawyer,
You
a
know,
smug man
you don't
named
have to
Robert
go through with
Crane,
it.
who seemed more
You could
interested
send
in
the evidence to
intimidation than
Jessica's family,
negotiation.
or even the authorities.
He demanded spousal support,
You could let the
a
system
hefty
take
share
care
of
of him.
Marissa's savings,
Rachel
even
shook
partial
her head.
ownership of her small graphic
No.
design business.
That's too easy
Nathaniel
for him.
scoffed at the demands.
Michael thrives on control,
They're
on
throwing mud to
appearances.
see what sticks, he
If
assured
I send
her.
this quietly,
But
he'll
we
twist
have
the story,
leverage.
make me look bitter
His
or
adultery,
unstable.
your documentation,
No.
the messages.
He needs to be
It's
exposed
all
publicly.
admissible.
In front
Still,
of everyone
the
who bought into
process
his
was
lies.
exhausting.
Megan nodded,
Depositions,
gripping the steering wheel tighter.
statements,
Then let's
long
make it
nights
unforgettable.
sifting through financial records.
As they neared San Antonio,
Every step
Rachel's
felt like
nerves
a
began
reminder
to
of
sharpen
Declan's
into
betrayal,
resolve.
each legal form
She
a star
imagined
etched
Michael's
into the
face when
story
he
of their
saw her
broken
standing
marriage.
there.
And
The
yet,
smugness draining
Marissa
from his
found strength
eyes.
in the fight.
Jessica's
With every
confusion,
meeting,
the guest's
every
shock.
signature, she felt less
She
like a
rehearsed the
victim and
words
more
she
like
might
a
say.
survivor reclaiming her voice.
Something simple, cutting.
One night, over
Not a
wine with her
rant.
friend Danielle,
Just
she
the truth.
confessed, "I thought this
You
divorce
can't
would
marry
crush
her,
me.
Michael.
But honestly,
You're already married."
it feels like I'm
To me.
finally standing up for
The
myself."
thought alone made her chest swell
Danielle
with a
squeezed
fierce,
her hand.
burning pride.
"That's because
That
you are."
night in the hotel,
He
Rachel
thought
couldn't
you'd
sleep.
roll over, but look at you.
She sat by
you're
the
fighting.
window, watching the city
And you're
lights
winning.
flicker in the distance.
Marissa smiled
Her phone
faintly,
buzzed on the
realizing
nightstand.
Danielle was right.
It was Michael.
For so long,
A text.
she'd been trapped in the shadows of
Conference
Declan's
went well.
lies, but now,
Miss
the
you and
battle
Sophie.
itself was pulling her into the
Be
light.
home soon.
The war
The
wasn't
audacity
over,
of it
not
made
by
her
a
laugh,
long shot.
an ugly, bitter
But
sound.
the battlefield was set,
He was
and
probably
Marissa was
sitting
ready.
in his bachelor suite at the vineyard, practicing vows to Jessica, while pretending to be a loving husband and father over text. Rachel typed back a single word, "Sure." Then she shut off her phone and slipped the clutch into her bag, along with every piece of evidence. Tomorrow wasn't just Michael's wedding day. It was Judgment Day. And Rachel was ready.
The
The
next
vineyard
morning,
looked like something
Marissa
straight
walked
out
into
of a
the
bridal
law office
magazine.
with her head high, even
White
though
chairs
inside,
lined the aisle,
her chest
draped
felt
in
like
blush
it was
colored
caving
ribbons.
in. The
Fairy lights
receptionist
hung from
smiled
oak
politely
trees,
and
their
ushered her
glow
into a
soft
polished
against the late
conference room
afternoon
where her
sky.
attorney, Nathaniel
Guests
Pierce,
sipped
waited.
champagne, laughing,
He was
their
a sharp
voices
man in his
carrying
late
over the
40s,
strum of a live
crisp
guitarist
suit,
playing
steel
somewhere
gray
near the
hair,
barn.
and eyes that suggested
Rachel
he'd
stood
seen
at the
every
edge of the
trick in the
property,
book.
heart pounding so
Mrs.
hard
Hale,
she thought it
he
might
greeted
echo
her
through the
firmly,
vines.
extending a hand.
Megan hovered beside
Or
her,
should I say
clutching her
soon-to-be
arm
Miss
like a
Hale.
tether.
His
"You don't have to
confidence
do
steadied
this,"
her nerves.
Megan whispered, eyes
For
darting
weeks,
nervously to the
she'd
guests.
felt cornered, but now,
"We could
with
still
someone
turn
finally
around."
on her side, she
Rachel
felt the
shook her
faintest
head.
flicker of control.
"No.
Nathaniel
This
wasted
ends
no
today."
time.
She
"I've
smoothed
reviewed
the
your
front of her
case.
navy dress and forced herself to
Infidelity is
breathe.
clear, and given his
From her
behavior,
vantage point,
I believe
she
we can
could see the
argue marital
ceremony
misconduct.
arch, roses wound around
Do you
wooden
want to pursue
beams,
alimony,
soft
or is
candlelight
this more
flickering
about
in glass
closure?
lanterns.
Marissa
It was
thought for a
beautiful,
moment.
romantic, even
Money
Rachel
wasn't
had to
her
admit
first
it.
concern, but then
And
she
that
remembered
beauty made her
Declan's smug
angrier,
face,
because
his
Michael didn't
dismissive
deserve
tone
it.
when she confronted him.
He didn't deserve
He
vows,
thought he could
or
betray
roses,
her and
or
walk away
applause.
untouched.
He deserved
No.
exposure.
He had to
As
face
guests
consequences.
began to take their seats,
"I
Rachel
want
and
what I
Megan
deserve,"
slipped closer,
she said firmly.
blending into the crowd.
"I won't be humiliated
Nobody
and
noticed
left
them.
with nothing
They were
after
just
10
two more
years of
well-dressed
loyalty."
women at a wedding.
Nathaniel nodded
Rachel's pulse
approvingly.
raced as she scanned the
"Good.
faces.
Then we'll play a
Strangers.
fence."
Friends of
That
Jessica's
evening,
family,
when Declan
maybe.
came home, Marissa
People who
didn't
had
flinch.
no idea they were about to witness
She was
a
sitting
scandal.
at the kitchen table,
And
her
then,
divorce
she
papers
saw
neatly
him.
stacked in front of her.
Michael,
"What's this?"
standing at the altar,
Declan
adjusting his
asked,
cufflinks,
his voice tight.
smiling at guests as if he hadn't
"Papers,"
shattered
she
lives.
said evenly.
His tuxedo
filed.
fit perfectly, his
"You'll hear from
hairstyle
my
just
lawyer
so.
soon."
The
His
picture of
jaw
a groom.
clenched.
The
"You're
picture
really
of a
doing
liar.
this?"
Rachel's
"I'm really
breath
doing
caught
this,"
in her throat.
she replied, her
Seeing
tone
him
calm
there,
but laced
so
with
smug,
steel.
so calm,
For a
made her
moment,
blood boil.
he looked stunned, as
She
though he
tightened her
hadn't
grip on her
expected her
clutch,
to actually
where her
follow
phone
through.
and every piece of evidence
Then,
waited.
his face darkened.
Then Jessica appeared.
"You think you're going to bleed me
The
dry?"
crowd turned, a collective
Take everything
murmur of
I've worked
admiration
for.
as she walked down the aisle
Marissa
in a
leaned
flowing lace
forward.
gown.
"No,
She was
Declan.
radiant, young,
I don't
glowing,
need to take
her veil
everything.
catching the light.
I just need to make
Rachel
sure you
felt a
don't walk
sharp
away
pang.
thinking betrayal comes
Not
without a
jealousy,
cost."
but sadness.
His nostrils flared.
Sadness for Jessica,
"You're
who had no
overreacting.
idea she was marrying into a
Affairs
lie.
happen.
Jessica's
People move
eyes
past
locked on
them.
Michael's, and Rachel
Not this
nearly
one,
choked on the
she
absurdity
interrupted
of it.
sharply.
He's promising
Not
her
after the
forever
lies,
while still
the
legally
humiliation,
tied to me.
the way you reduced me
The
to
officiant
convenience.
cleared his throat,
Don't
signaling
you
the
dare
start.
minimize what you did to
Guests quieted,
me.
the
The
air
tension
thick with
between them was
anticipation.
electric, each word a weapon,
Dearly
each
beloved,
glare a
we are
line
gathered
drawn
here
deeper in
today.
the sand.
Rachel's stomach
Declan stormed
twisted.
out, slamming the
This
door
was it.
so hard the frame rattled.
Every second that passed made her
Marissa
pulse
sat
louder
alone,
in her ears.
shaking, but she didn't
Her
cry.
hands trembled, not from
Not
fear,
this time.
but from the sheer
In the
magnitude of what
days
she
that
was
followed,
about to do.
the battle lines grew clearer.
Megan leaned closer,
Letters
whispering,
from attorneys
now
flew
or
back
never,
and forth.
Ratch.
Declan
Rachel
hired his
stood.
own lawyer, a smug
chair
man named
scraped the
Robert
ground,
Crane,
drawing
who
a
seemed
few
more
curious
interested in
glances.
intimidation than
She
negotiation.
ignored them, her gaze
He
fixed
demanded
on Michael.
spousal support, a hefty
She walked
share
down
of
the aisle
Marissa's
slowly,
savings,
deliberately,
even partial
her
ownership
heels
of her
clicking
small
against the
graphic
stone
design
path.
business.
Guests began to
Nathaniel
murmur,
scoffed at the
confusion
demands.
rippling through the crowd.
"They're throwing mud to see
Michael's
what
smile
sticks,"
faltered.
he assured her.
Rachel stopped
we have
halfway,
leverage.
her voice ringing clear
His
in the hushed
adultery,
air.
your
You
documentation,
can't
the
marry her,
messages.
Michael.
It's all
Gasps
admissible.
erupted.
Still,
Heads
the
turned.
process was
The
exhausting.
guitarist's music died mid-note.
Depositions.
Michael's face
Statements.
drained of color.
Long nights
Rachel,
sifting through
he
financial
hissed,
records.
barely audible.
Every step
What are you
felt like a
doing?
reminder of Declan's
She
betrayal,
lifted her clutch,
each legal
holding
form a
up her
scar
phone like
etched
a
into the
weapon.
story of their broken marriage.
Telling the truth.
And yet,
Jessica
Marissa
blinked,
found
her
strength in
bouquet
the fight.
trembling in her hands.
With every meeting,
Michael,
every
who
signature,
is this?
she felt less like a
Rachel's
victim and
voice
more
was
like a
steady
survivor
now,
reclaiming
every
her
syllable
voice.
sharp as glass.
One night,
I'm
over
his
wine
wife.
with her friend Danielle,
Legally.
she confessed, I thought this
Still.
divorce would crush me.
He forgot to mention that,
But honestly,
didn't he?
it
Chaos
feels like I'm
ignited
finally
instantly.
standing up for myself.
Guests whispered, some
Danielle
outright
squeezed her
gasping,
hand.
others covering their mouths.
That's because you are.
Jessica staggered
He
back,
thought you'd
her
roll
veil
over,
slipping
but
as
look
she
at
turned
you,
wide,
you're fighting.
horrified eyes toward Michael.
And you're winning.
No,
Marissa
Michael
smiled
stammered,
faintly,
his hands
realizing
raised.
Danielle was right.
She's lying.
For so long,
She's
been trapped in the
obsessed.
shadows of Declan's lies.
Rachel
but
cut him
now,
off,
the
her
battle
voice
itself
slicing
was
through the
pulling her
noise.
into the light.
Obsessed?
The war wasn't over,
Funny,
not by a long
because
shot.
the marriage license, the
But the
joint bank
battlefield
account,
was set,
and the daughter
and
we
Marissa
share
was
all
ready.
say otherwise. She tapped her phone, and a photo of their marriage certificate lit up the screen. She held it high, making sure the front rows could see. The officiant looked horrified, glancing between Michael and Rachel like he'd been dragged into a soap opera. Jessica's bouquet slipped from her hands, petals scattering across the aisle. Michael, Jessica's voice cracked, raw with disbelief. Is this true? Michael's mouth opened and closed, but no words came. His polished mask had shattered. Rachel felt a surge of power she hadn't known she possessed. For months she'd been drowning, gaslit, ignored, treated like a ghost. But now, here in front of everyone, she was undeniable. This wedding is a fraud, Rachel declared, her voice carrying across the vineyard. And everyone deserves to know who Michael really is.
The
For
next
a moment,
morning,
silence
Marissa walked
blanketed
into
the
the
vineyard,
law office
as if
with
the
her head
entire
high,
world had
even
frozen
though
around
inside,
the words Rachel
her
had
chest
spoken.
felt like it was caving in.
Then, like a glass
The
shattering,
receptionist
the scene
smiled
exploded
politely and
into
ushered her
chaos.
into a polished conference
Guests
room where her
whispered
attorney,
frantically,
Nathaniel
voices
Pierce,
rising into
waited.
accusations,
He
questions,
was a sharp
and
man
gasps.
in his late 40s, crisp
The officiant
suit,
took a
steel
cautious
gray
step
hair,
back,
and
as
eyes
though
that
he didn't want to
suggested
be
he'd seen
implicated in
every
whatever
trick in the
scandal
book.
was unfolding.
Mrs. Hale,
The
he
guitarist
greeted her
quietly
firmly,
slipped his strap
extending
over
a
his
hand.
shoulder and disappeared behind
Or
the
should
barn.
I say soon-to-be Miss Hale.
Jessica stood frozen,
His
her wedding
confidence
gown
steadied
heavy
her
and
nerves.
suffocating, her eyes
For
locked
weeks,
on Michael.
she'd felt cornered,
Her
but
hands
now,
shook
with
violently
someone
at her
finally
sides,
on her side,
her lips
she
trembling
felt
as
the
she
faintest
repeated the
flicker of
question that
control.
now hung in the air like a guillotine.
Nathaniel wasted no time.
Michael.
I've reviewed
this
your
true?
case.
Michael's face
Infidelity
had
is
turned
clear,
a shade of
and
gray
given
that
his
matched
behavior,
the clouds
I
crawling
believe
across
we
the
can argue
horizon.
marital misconduct.
His perfect groom's
Do you
composure,
want to pursue
the
alimony,
easy
or
smile,
is this more
the
about
polished
closure?
confidence, was gone.
Marissa thought for a
He
moment.
looked like a man cornered.
Money wasn't her first
Jessica,
concern,
I can
but then
explain,
she remembered
he
Declan's
stammered,
smug face,
stepping toward
his
her.
dismissive tone when she
She
confronted
flinched
him.
as if his very presence
He
scorched
thought
her.
he could betray her and
Don't
walk
you
away
dare touch me.
untouched.
Answer
No.
me.
He had
Rachel
to face
stood tall in
consequences.
the aisle, every nerve in
I
her
want
body
what I
trembling
deserve,
but her voice
she said
steady,
firmly.
fueled by months of
I
betrayal.
won't be humiliated and left
can't
with nothing
explain this
after
away,
10 years of
Jessica.
loyalty.
I'm his
Nathaniel
wife.
nodded approvingly.
His legal wife.
Good.
He married
Then
me
we'll
10
play
years
a
ago in
fence.
Chicago, and we
That
share a
evening,
daughter.
when Declan came
He
home,
never divorced
Marissa
me.
didn't flinch.
Gasps rippled
She
through
was
the rows
sitting at
again.
the kitchen table, her
Someone
divorce
in the
papers
crowd
neatly
muttered,
stacked
"Oh my
in front
God."
of her.
Jessica's
this?
father, a stern man in a
Declan
tailored
asked,
suit,
his voice
pushed himself
tight.
up from the front row,
Papers,
his jaw
she
clenched
said
like
evenly.
stone.
I've
Is
filed.
this true, Michael?
You'll hear from my
His
lawyer
voice
soon.
carried the weight of both
His jaw
disbelief and
clenched.
fury.
You're
Michael's
really doing
mouth
this.
opened and closed.
I'm really doing
His
this,
eyes
she
darted to
replied,
Rachel,
her
then
tone
back to
calm
Jessica,
but laced
then
with
to the
steel.
crowd.
For a
It's
moment, he looked
complicated,
stunned,
he
as
muttered.
though he hadn't expected
Rachel
her to
barked
actually
out a
follow
laugh,
through.
bitter and sharp.
Then, his face
Complicated?
darkened.
That's what
think
you
you're
call
going to
lying to
bleed me
two
dry?
women, stringing us
Take
along,
everything
and
I've worked
planning
for.
a big wedding while you're still married to
Marissa
me?
leaned forward.
Jessica's hands
No,
flew to her
Declan.
mouth, her mascara
I don't
already
need to take
smudging as
everything.
tears welled in her eyes.
I just need to make sure you
Her
don't walk away
bridesmaids
thinking
crowded
betrayal
around her,
comes without a
whispering
cost.
frantically, while guests
His
began to
nostrils
pull out their
flared.
phones.
You're
The soft
overreacting.
glow of recording screens
Affairs
flickered like
happen.
fireflies.
People moved past
Michael
them.
noticed and panicked.
Not this one, she
Everyone,
interrupted
please,
sharply.
put those away,
Not
he
after
shouted,
the lies,
but his voice
the humiliation,
cracked, betraying
the way
his
you
fear.
reduced me to convenience.
Rachel tilted her chin,
Don't you
her
dare
anger giving her
minimize
a
what you did
strange,
to me.
icy calm.
The tension
Go
between them
ahead.
was electric, each word a
Record.
weapon, each glare a
Let the
line
world
drawn
see
deeper
who he
in the
really
sand.
is.
Declan
Jessica's
stormed
father
out,
stormed
slamming
forward,
the door
grabbing
so
Michael
hard
by
the
the
frame
lapels
rattled.
of his tuxedo.
Marissa sat
You
alone,
humiliated my
shaking,
daughter in front of
but she
everyone
didn't
she
cry.
loves, he snarled,
Not this
spittle
time.
flying from his lips.
In the days that followed,
conniving
the battle
bastard.
lines grew clearer.
Michael stumbled back,
Letters from
trying to
attorneys
free
flew
himself.
back and forth.
I
Declan
wasn't
hired his
going to
own
let
lawyer,
it go on.
a smug man named
I was
Robert
going to
Crane,
tell her after.
who seemed more interested in intimidation than negotiation.
Jessica's scream tore through
He
the vineyard.
demanded spousal support,
After
a
what?
hefty share of Marissa's
After I
savings,
said vows to
even
you in front
partial
of my
ownership
family
of
and
her
friends.
small graphic design business.
After I signed my name next to
Nathaniel
yours.
scoffed at the demands.
After you tied me to your lies
They're
legally.
throwing mud to see what sticks,
Her voice cracked,
he assured her.
a raw mix of rage
But
and
we
heartbreak.
have leverage.
Rachel
His
felt
adultery,
a pang in her
your
chest,
documentation,
unexpected.
the messages.
She had come here to
It's all
expose him,
admissible.
but watching Jessica's world
Still,
crumble
the
hurt in a
process
way
was
she hadn't
exhausting.
anticipated.
Depositions.
Because Jessica wasn't her enemy.
Statements.
Jessica
Long
was just
nights
another
sifting
victim.
through financial records.
The guests were no longer whispering.
Every step
they
felt
were
like a
openly
reminder of
condemning
Declan's
him.
betrayal, each legal
Disgusting.
form a scar etched into
Who
the
does
story
that?
of their broken marriage.
He's finished.
And yet,
Michael's
Marissa
hands
found
shook
strength
as he
in the
raised them,
fight.
pleading.
With every meeting,
Please,
every
everyone,
signature,
just
she
listen.
felt less
Rachel
like
and
a
I have
victim
been
and more like a
separated for
survivor
years.
reclaiming her voice.
We haven't been together
One
in
night,
forever.
over wine with her friend Danielle,
this isn't what it
she
looks like.
confessed, I thought this divorce
Rachel's
would
voice
crush
cut
me.
through his excuses like
But
a blade.
honestly,
Then
it
why
feels
haven't
like
you
I'm
filed
finally
for divorce?
standing up for myself.
Why are our bank accounts
Danielle
still linked?
squeezed her hand.
Why are you still
That's
showing
because
up at
you
our
are.
daughter's school like you're the
He
doting
thought
dad?
you'd roll over, but
A
look
hush
at you,
fell over the
you're
crowd
fighting.
again at that last part.
And you're winning.
A daughter?
Marissa
Someone
smiled
whispered.
faintly, realizing
Jessica's
Danielle
face
was
crumpled
right.
completely.
For so long,
You
she'd
have a
been
child.
trapped in the shadows of Declan's
Michael's
lies,
lips
but
trembled.
now, the battle itself
Jessica,
was pulling her
please.
into the light.
She
The
stumbled
war
back,
wasn't over,
shaking her
not
head.
by a long shot.
No.
But the battlefield
No,
was set,
no,
and
no.
Marissa was ready.
I loved you. I defended you. I thought we were building a future. And the entire time, you had a whole other life? Her father shoved Michael backward, and he nearly toppled into the floral arch. The carefully arranged roses shivered, petals raining down like mocking confetti. Rachel felt her throat tighten, but she stood her ground. Jessica, I'm sorry you had to find out this way. I wouldn't wish this pain on anyone. But you deserve the truth. We both did. Jessica's gaze shifted from Michael to Rachel, her tears cutting lines through her makeup. There was no hatred in her eyes, only devastation. She gave a shaky nod. Michael, realizing the tide had fully turned, tried one last desperate plea. Jessica, please, don't do this in front of everyone. Let's talk privately. I can fix this. But Jessica's voice came back like steel. There is no fixing this. The officiant, looking pale and rattled, quietly closed his book and stepped down from the altar. Guests began to rise, some shaking their heads, others walking out altogether. The wedding was over. Rachel stood in the wreckage of roses, gasps, and broken vows. She had done what she came to do. But as Michael collapsed into a chair, burying his face in his hands, Rachel felt the weight of something she hadn't expected: freedom. Not for him. Not for Jessica. For herself. For the first time in years, Rachel felt like she could breathe.
The
The
next
vineyard had
morning,
emptied faster
Marissa
than
walked
Rachel
into the
ever
law
thought
office
possible.
with her head high, even
Chairs
though
sat
inside,
overturned,
her chest
half-filled
felt like it was
champagne
caving
glasses
in.
still sweating on
The
white-clothed
receptionist
tables.
smiled politely and
The
ushered
arch
her
of
into
roses,
a polished
once the
conference room where
centerpiece
her
of
attorney,
celebration,
Nathaniel
now leaned
Pierce,
crooked,
waited.
petals scattered across
He
the
was a
aisle like
sharp
the
man in
debris
his
of a
late
battle.
40s, crisp suit,
Rachel walked
steel
away
gray
slowly,
hair, and
her
eyes
heels
that
crunching on the
suggested he'd
gravel,
seen every
her
trick
body
in the
still
book.
vibrating with adrenaline.
Mrs. Hale, he
Beside
greeted her
her,
firmly,
Megan matched her
extending
stride,
a hand.
her arm gently brushing
Or should I
Rachel's
say
as though
soon to be
reminding
Miss
her she
Hale.
wasn't alone.
His confidence
They
steadied
reached
her
the parking
nerves.
lot where the last few guests
For
were
weeks,
whispering by
she'd
their
felt
cars,
cornered,
their
but
eyes
now,
darting toward
with
her
someone
as though she were
finally on her
both hero
side,
and villain.
she felt the faintest flicker
Some
of control.
faces held pity, some
Nathaniel
admiration,
wasted no
some
time.
simple curiosity.
I've reviewed your case.
Rachel ignored them all.
Infidelity is
She
clear,
stopped
and
beside
given
her
his
car,
behavior,
her hand
I
gripping
believe
the
we
door
can argue
handle,
marital
but she
misconduct.
didn't open it.
Do you want
Instead,
to pursue alimony,
she leaned her
or is
forehead
this
against
more
the
about
cool metal,
closure?
shutting her eyes.
Marissa thought for a moment.
For the first time since stepping
Money
into that
wasn't
chapel,
her first concern,
her knees threatened
but then
to
she
buckle.
remembered Declan's smug
Megan
face,
placed a
his
hand on her
dismissive
shoulder.
tone when she confronted him.
You did it.
He thought he
You
could
really
betray
did it.
her and walk away untouched.
Rachel let out a shaky laugh,
No.
one part relief and
He
one
had
part
to face
exhaustion.
consequences.
I don't know if
I
I should
want what
feel
I
proud
deserve,
or ashamed.
she said firmly.
Rachel,
I won't
Megan
be
said
humiliated
firmly,
and left
he was
with
about to
nothing
marry
after
another
10
woman
years
while
of
still
loyalty.
married to you.
Nathaniel
You
nodded
saved her.
approvingly.
And you
Good.
saved yourself.
Then we'll play
Rachel
offense.
turned, tears finally
That
spilling
evening,
over as her
when
chest
Declan
heaved.
came home, Marissa
But
didn't
did I?
flinch.
Look at the
She was
wreckage
sitting
I
at the
left
kitchen
behind.
table, her divorce papers
Jessica,
neatly
she
stacked
didn't
in front
deserve
of her.
that.
What's
She
this?
looked at him like he was her whole
Declan
world.
asked, his voice
And I
tight.
ripped it away in front of her
Papers,
family,
she
her
said
friends,
evenly.
everyone.
I've filed.
Megan squeezed her
You'll
shoulder.
hear from my lawyer soon.
No, Rachel.
His jaw clenched.
He ripped it away.
You're really doing
You
this.
just refused to let him get away
I'm
with
really
it.
doing this, she
Rachel
replied,
sank into the
her
driver's
tone calm
seat,
but laced
staring
with
out
steel.
through the windshield as the first
For a
drops
moment,
of rain
he
began
looked
to
stunned,
patter against the
as
glass.
though he hadn't expected her to
The
actually
storm that
follow
had threatened
through.
all day finally broke.
Then, his face darkened.
She felt as though the world
You think you're
outside was
going to bleed
mirroring
me
her
dry?
insides, heavy,
Take everything I've
fractured,
worked for.
but cleansing.
Marissa
Her
leaned
phone
forward.
buzzed in her purse.
No, Declan.
She hesitated before
I
pulling
don't
it
need
out.
to take everything.
A flood of
I
notifications
just need to
filled
make
the
sure
screen.
you don't walk
Missed
away
calls
thinking
from Michael,
betrayal comes
messages
without a
from
cost.
unknown numbers, even a
His
few from
nostrils
coworkers who
flared.
must have already seen
You're
clips circulating
overreacting.
online.
Affairs
Because
happen.
of course it was online.
People move past them.
Rachel knew the moment she
Not
saw the
this
phones
one,
raised
she
in that
interrupted
chapel.
sharply.
The video
Not
would
after
spread.
the lies, the
The
humiliation,
betrayal,
the
the
way you reduced
confrontation,
me to
Jessica's
convenience.
screams, all of it was
Don't
out
you
there
dare
now.
minimize what you did to me.
She pressed the phone to her
The
chest
tension
and whispered,
between them was
God,
electric,
Sophie.
each word a weapon, each
Her
glare a
daughter's
line
name was a
drawn
prayer
deeper in
and
the
a plea.
sand.
How much
Declan
would this
stormed
touch
out,
her?
slamming the door
How would
so
Rachel
hard the
explain
frame
when
rattled.
Sophie inevitably overheard
Marissa
whispers
sat
or,
alone,
worse,
shaking,
stumbled
but she
across the
didn't
video
cry.
herself?
Not this
Megan
time.
slid into the passenger
In
seat,
the days that
glancing
followed,
at the screen.
the battle lines grew clearer.
Don't read them.
Letters from
Not
attorneys
now.
flew back and forth.
Let the world talk.
Declan hired his own
Right
lawyer,
now, you
a
need to
smug
breathe.
man named Robert Crane,
Rachel
who
nodded,
seemed more
tossing the
interested
phone
in
back into her
intimidation than
purse.
negotiation.
She rested her
He
hands on
demanded
the wheel
spousal
but didn't
support,
start the
a
car.
hefty share of Marissa's
Her
savings,
mind was replaying
even
the moment
partial
Michael's
ownership
face
of her
crumbled,
small graphic
Jessica's
design
scream,
business.
the crowd's collective gasp.
Nathaniel scoffed at the demands.
She thought she'd feel triumph.
They're throwing mud to see what
Instead,
sticks,
she
he
felt
assured
something
her.
else.
But we
Something
have
raw.
leverage. His
Freedom,
adultery,
yes.
your documentation,
But
the
also
messages.
grief.
It's
Because
all
Michael
admissible.
hadn't just betrayed her as a
Still,
husband.
the process was
He
exhausting.
betrayed the man she thought he was.
Depositions.
The one who once held her in a rundown
Statements.
apartment, promising they'd build
Long
a life
nights
together
sifting
from
through
nothing.
financial records.
The man who laughed
Every
with
step
Sophie when
felt
she
like
was
a
learning to
reminder of
ride her
Declan's
bike.
betrayal. Each legal
That man
form a
had been
scar
gone for
etched into the
years,
story of their
replaced by a
broken marriage.
coward and a liar, but
And
her
yet,
heart was only now
Marissa
catching
found
up to that
strength in the
truth.
fight.
She
With every
exhaled
meeting,
shakily.
every signature, she
12
felt less
years,
like a victim
Megan.
and more like a survivor
12
reclaiming
years
her
I gave
voice.
him. And
One
he was
night,
ready to throw it
over
away
wine
for,
with her
for
friend
what?
Danielle, she confessed,
For a second
I
wedding
thought
in
this
another
divorce
city?
would crush me.
For a fantasy
But
life
honestly,
he couldn't even build honestly.
It feels like I'm finally
Megan's
standing
voice
up for
softened.
myself.
Rachel,
Danielle
you didn't lose
squeezed her
12
hand.
years.
That's
You
because
built
you are.
Sophie in those years.
He thought you'd roll
You
over,
built
but
yourself.
look at you, you're
He
fighting.
can't erase that.
And you're winning.
He only lost himself.
Marissa smiled faintly,
Rachel
realizing
swallowed
Danielle
hard.
was right.
That truth
For
burned
so
but
long,
also healed.
she'd been trapped in the
A
shadows of
sharp
Declan's
knock
lies.
on the window startled
but now,
them both.
the battle itself was
Rachel
pulling her
turned,
into the light.
her heart leaping,
The
only to
war
see
wasn't
Jessica
over,
standing
not
there
by
in the
a long
rain,
shot.
her white gown soaked
But the
and clinging to her
battlefield was
body,
set, and
mascara
Marissa
streaking
was
her
ready.
cheeks. She looked like a ghost of the woman who had walked down the aisle an hour earlier. Rachel rolled the window down slowly. Jessica. Jessica's voice was hoarse, broken. I had to ask. Were you telling the truth? About everything? About Sophie? About the marriage? Rachel met her gaze, her own tears reflecting Jessica's. Every word. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Jessica nodded slowly, her shoulders sagging under the weight of reality. For a moment, they just looked at each other, not as rivals, but as two women wounded by the same man. Finally, Jessica whispered, "Thank you for saving me from marrying him." Her lips trembled as she added, "Even if it broke me." Rachel's throat closed, but she managed a soft reply. "You'll heal. We both will." Jessica gave a faint nod, then turned and walked away into the storm, her figure swallowed by rain and darkness. Rachel started the car, her resolve firming. For the first time in years, the road ahead didn't look like a dead end. It looked uncertain, terrifying even, but it was hers. As the windshield wipers swept the rain away, Rachel gripped the wheel tighter and whispered to herself, "This isn't the end. This is the beginning."
The
Michael
next
sat
morning,
alone in a
Marissa
dim
walked
hotel
into
room
the law
hours after the
office with her
Vineyard
head
disaster,
high, even
his
though
tux
inside,
jacket draped
her
across a
chest
chair,
felt like it was
his tie
caving in.
undone, his phone
The
buzzing
receptionist
relentlessly on the
smiled
nightstand.
politely and ushered her into a
He looked
polished
less like a
conference room
groom
where
and
her
more like a
attorney,
man caught in a
Nathaniel
net he
Pierce,
couldn't escape.
waited. He
Dozens
was a
of
sharp
messages
man in his
flashed
late
across the
40s,
screen,
crisp
angry
suit,
texts from
steel gray
Jessica's
hair,
family,
and
threats
eyes
of
that
lawsuits,
suggested he'd seen
voicemails
every
from
trick in the
colleagues,
book.
even a few journalists
Mrs.
requesting
Hale,
a
he
statement.
greeted her firmly,
He ignored
extending a
them all,
hand.
pacing the carpet
Or
like
should
a
I say
caged
soon
animal.
to be Miss Hale.
Finally,
His
he picked up the
confidence steadied
phone
her
and called
nerves.
Rachel.
For
Straight
weeks,
to
she'd felt
voicemail.
cornered, but now,
tried
with
again.
someone finally on her side,
Same result.
she felt the faintest flicker
His
of
jaw
control.
clenched. He
Nathaniel
left a
wasted
message,
no time.
his voice tight and defensive.
I've reviewed your case.
Rachel, I know what you think
Infidelity
you
is clear,
accomplished today,
and given his
but you've
behavior,
ruined everything.
I believe we can argue marital
You didn't
misconduct.
have to humiliate me like that.
Do you want to pursue
You
alimony,
think you're the victim
or is this
here,
more
but
about
you're not.
closure?
We were
Marissa
done years
thought
ago.
for a moment.
You just couldn't accept it.
Money wasn't her first
Call me
concern,
back.
but then she remembered
We need to
Declan's
figure
smug
out how to
face,
handle this
his dismissive
before it
tone
gets
when she
worse.
confronted him.
He ended the
He
call,
thought he could
but the
betray
pit in
her
his
and
stomach
walk
only
away
deepened.
untouched.
The truth
No.
was, it had already
He had to
gotten
face
worse.
consequences.
A friend had
I
texted
want
him
what
a
I
link
deserve,
minutes earlier.
she said firmly.
He'd clicked,
I
only
won't be
to see the
humiliated
video,
and left
grainy
with
but
nothing
clear
after
enough.
10 years of loyalty.
Rachel's voice echoing
Nathaniel
through the
nodded
chapel.
approvingly.
I'm his wife.
Good.
Jessica's scream.
Then we'll play offense.
The crowd's outrage.
That evening, when
It was all
Declan
there,
came home,
already
Marissa
racking up
didn't
views,
flinch.
the comments section
She
filling
was
with
sitting
venom.
at the kitchen table,
Michael
her divorce
slammed the
papers
phone
neatly
down.
stacked in front of her.
Idiots with cameras,
What's this?
he muttered.
Declan
But
asked,
deep down,
his voice
he
tight.
knew this wasn't just bad
Papers,
press.
she said evenly.
This was exposure.
I've filed.
The carefully
You'll
balanced
hear
double
from my
life he
lawyer
had spent
soon.
years constructing was
His
collapsing
jaw
in real
clenched.
time.
You're
He
really
tried to
doing
remind
this.
himself why he had done
I'm
it
really
in the first
doing
place.
this, she replied,
With
her
Rachel,
tone calm
the marriage
but
had
laced
felt
with steel.
suffocating, stale.
For a moment, he looked
She had become
stunned,
more mother
as
than
though
partner,
he hadn't
more
expected
critic
her
than
to actually
confidant.
follow through.
Jessica had
Then,
been different,
his face
fresh,
darkened.
adoring,
You
untouched
think
by
you're
the
going
years
to
of
bleed me
routine.
dry?
With
Take
her,
everything
he
I've
felt
worked
young
for.
again.
Marissa
Powerful.
leaned forward.
Desired.
No, Declan.
But now,
I
staring
don't
at
need
his
to take
reflection in the
everything.
dark TV screen,
I just
all
need
he
to
saw
make
was
sure
a
you
coward.
don't walk away thinking betrayal
Across
comes
town,
without a cost.
Rachel sat at her kitchen
His
table in
nostrils
Austin,
flared.
a cup of tea untouched
You're
in front of her.
overreacting.
Sophie was
Affairs
asleep
happen.
upstairs, blissfully
People move
unaware
past
of the
them.
scandal consuming her parents.
Not this one, she interrupted
Rachel had
sharply.
spent hours staring at her daughter's
Not after
face
the
as she
lies,
tucked her
the
in,
humiliation,
wondering how she would
the way
ever
you
explain
reduced
the
me
mess
to
Michael had made of their
convenience.
family.
Don't you dare
Megan had
minimize what you
stayed
did
until
to
late,
me.
insisting
The
Rachel eat
tension
something,
between them was
but now
electric,
the house was
each word
quiet,
a weapon,
leaving
each
Rachel
glare a
alone
line
with her
drawn
thoughts.
deeper in the sand.
She checked her phone,
Declan stormed
dozens
out,
of missed calls
slamming
from
the
Michael.
door so hard the frame
She
rattled.
deleted each one without
Marissa
listening.
sat alone,
Then
shaking,
another text
but
came
she didn't
in,
cry.
this time from an unknown number.
Not this time.
She opened
In
it
the days that
hesitantly.
followed, the battle lines
Rachel,
grew clearer.
this is Jessica.
Letters from
I wanted
attorneys
you to
flew
know.
back and forth.
I'm not speaking to
Declan
him.
hired his own lawyer,
Not
a
now,
smug man
not
named
ever.
Robert Crane, who
Thank you
seemed
again
more
for
interested
telling
in
me the truth.
intimidation than negotiation.
I hope you and your daughter are
He
okay.
demanded spousal support,
Rachel
a
stared
hefty
at the
share
words,
of Marissa's
her chest
savings,
tightening.
even partial ownership
For all
of her
the
small
pain,
graphic
at least
design
something
business.
good had come of it. Jessica
Nathaniel
was free
scoffed
from
at the
Michael's
demands.
lies.
They're
She
throwing
typed
mud
back
to see what
carefully,
sticks,
you didn't
he
deserve
assured
what
her.
he did to you.
But we have
None
leverage.
of us did.
His adultery,
Stay strong,
your documentation,
Jessica.
the messages.
For the first time that
It's
night,
all admissible.
Rachel felt a flicker of solidarity
Still,
instead
the
of
process
isolation.
was exhausting.
Michael, meanwhile,
Depositions.
was not done.
Statements.
He drove back to his house
Long
after
nights
midnight,
sifting
his
through
headlights
financial
sweeping
records.
across the familiar driveway.
Every step felt like a
He sat
reminder
there
of
for a
Declan's
long
betrayal,
time,
each
gripping the
legal
steering
form a
wheel,
scar etched
debating
into
whether
the
to go
story of their
inside.
broken marriage.
Finally,
And yet,
he stormed up to
Marissa
the door
found
and
strength
knocked
in the
hard,
fight.
his fist echoing through
With
the
every
quiet
meeting,
neighborhood.
every signature, she
Rachel,
felt less like a victim
open
and more
up.
like a survivor reclaiming
Rachel
her
froze
voice.
at the sound, her pulse
One night,
spiking.
over wine with her friend
didn't
Danielle,
move.
she confessed,
Rachel,
I thought this divorce would
Michael
crush me.
shouted again.
But honestly,
We need to talk.
it feels like I'm
You can't
finally
just
standing
ignore
up
me
for
forever.
myself.
Rachel
Danielle
stood in the
squeezed
hallway,
her hand.
staring at the door but
That's
refusing
because
to
you
unlock
are.
it.
He
She
thought
whispered
you'd roll
under her
over,
breath,
but look
"Watch
at you,
me."
you're fighting.
Michael's voice
And
grew
you're
desperate.
winning.
Think
Marissa
about
smiled
Sophie.
faintly,
Do
realizing
you really
Danielle
want her
was
to grow
right.
up watching her parents at
For
war?
so long, she'd
We
been
can
trapped
fix
in the
this,
shadows of
if you just
Declan's
work
lies.
with me instead
but
of against
now,
me.
the battle itself was
Rachel
pulling her
almost
into the
laughed
light.
at the absurdity.
The war wasn't
Fix
over,
this?
not by a long shot.
As if their marriage were a
But the
leaky faucet
battlefield
instead
was
of a
set,
house
and
burned to the
Marissa
ground.
was ready.
She stayed silent, and eventually, after several more angry knocks, Michael gave up, stomping back to his car. From the upstairs window, Sophie stirred, awakened by the commotion. Rachel rushed up to soothe her, whispering, "It's okay, baby. Mommy's here." You're safe. She peeked through the curtains as Michael's taillights disappeared down the street. Safe, for now. By morning, the story had exploded. Local news anchors were already reporting on the Texas wedding scandal, complete with blurred clips of Rachel's confrontation. Hashtags trended on social media. Rachel's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Megan texted, "You're viral. Call me. We need to strategize." Rachel sighed, closing her eyes. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was bigger. Michael's lies had made her a public figure in a story she never asked to tell. And while Michael scrambled to spin the narrative, Rachel realized she had a choice: stay silent and let the world speculate, or finally take control of her own story. By the time Rachel arrived at Megan's office the next morning, the waiting room was buzzing.
Even though inside, her chest
Two women
felt like it was
whispered as
caving
Rachel
in.
walked past,
The
one of them holding
receptionist
her
smiled
phone with the
politely
video
and
still
ushered her
open.
into a polished conference
Rachel
room where
caught
her
the words,
attorney,
"That's her,"
Nathaniel
before the
Pierce,
receptionist
waited.
hurried her into Megan's
He
office
was a
and
sharp
shut
man
the
in his
door.
late 40s, crisp
Megan
suit,
greeted her with a
steel gray
hug.
hair, and eyes
"You
that
holding up?"
suggested he'd seen every trick
Rachel
in the
sank
book.
into a chair.
Mrs. Hale,
"I don't know.
he greeted her firmly,
It's like I'm
extending
living
a hand.
someone else's life.
Or should I say
One
soon to be
moment I'm a
Miss
mom
Hale.
worrying about whether
His
Sophie ate enough
confidence steadied
veggies
her
at dinner,
nerves.
and the next I'm a
For
meme."
weeks, she'd felt
Megan
cornered,
handed her
but
a
now,
tablet.
with someone finally
"It's
on her
more than a
side,
meme.
she felt the faintest
You're a
flicker of
story.
control.
And if you don't
Nathaniel
take control
wasted
of it,
no time.
Michael will.
I've reviewed
He's
your
already
case.
trying."
Infidelity
Rachel's
is
stomach
clear,
tightened.
and given his behavior,
"What do you
I
mean?"
believe we can argue marital
Megan pulled
misconduct.
up a post Michael had made
Do you
late
want to
last
pursue
night.
alimony, or
A
is this
polished
more about
statement,
closure?
complete with a photo of him
Marissa
holding
thought for a
Sophie
moment.
from last summer.
Money wasn't
"I've
her
made
first
mistakes,
concern,
but my daughter
then she
means the
remembered
world to me.
Declan's smug face,
I
his
won't let
dismissive
bitterness
tone
tear
when
our
she
family
confronted
apart.
him.
Please
He thought he
respect
could
our
betray
privacy
her
as
and
we
walk
heal."
away untouched.
Rachel's jaw dropped.
No.
He's
He had
using
to face
Sophie.
consequences.
He doesn't even live
I
with
want
us
what
anymore.
I deserve, she said firmly.
That's what he does, Megan
I
said
won't be
evenly.
humiliated and left with
He
nothing
spins.
after 10 years of loyalty.
He's trying to cast himself as the
Nathaniel
devoted
nodded
father.
approvingly.
But Rachel,
Good.
you have something more
Then we'll
powerful
play
than
offense.
spin, you have the truth.
That evening, when
People
Declan
saw
came
what
home,
happened.
Marissa didn't
They
flinch.
felt your pain.
She was sitting
You
at the
don't need
kitchen
to
table,
invent anything.
her divorce papers neatly
You just
stacked
need to
in front of
decide
her.
if you're ready to speak.
What's this?
Rachel leaned back,
Declan asked,
rubbing her
his
temples.
voice tight.
"I never
Papers,
wanted this.
she said evenly.
I didn't ask to go
I
viral."
filed.
"No
You'll
one
hear
does,"
from my lawyer
Megan
soon.
replied.
His
"But
jaw
now
clenched.
that you are, you get to choose.
You're really
Either
doing
you stay
this.
silent and let Michael shape
I'm really
the narrative,
doing this,
or you
she
tell
replied,
your own story."
her tone calm but
And
laced
people,
with steel.
women especially,
For a
are
moment,
waiting to hear
he
it.
looked stunned, as
Rachel
though he
thought
hadn't
of
expected
Sophie
her to
upstairs in her
actually follow
bedroom,
through.
clutching her stuffed rabbit.
Then, his face darkened.
For years, she had swallowed
think
her
you're
pain
going to
to
bleed me
keep the
dry?
peace, to make sure her
Take
daughter
everything
had
I've worked
stability.
for.
But what
Marissa
stability
leaned
came from
forward.
silence?
No,
What
Declan.
legacy did it leave Sophie
I
if
don't
her
need
mother
to take
kept
everything.
hiding? Rachel
I just need to
exhaled
make sure
slowly.
you don't walk away thinking
Okay.
betrayal comes without a cost.
"I'll do it."
His
That
nostrils
afternoon,
flared.
Rachel sat in front
You're
of a camera in
overreacting.
Megan's studio, lights warm
Affairs
on
happen.
her face.
People
No
moved
makeup
past
artist, no glossy
them. Not
filters.
this one, she interrupted
Just
sharply.
her voice, her
Not
truth.
after the lies, the
"I'm
humiliation,
Rachel Miller,"
the
she
way you
began,
reduced me
her
to
voice
convenience.
trembling but steadying as she continued.
Don't you dare minimize what you did
"You've
to me.
probably seen the video of
The
me at
tension
Michael
between
and
them was
Jessica's
electric,
wedding.
each word a weapon,
I want to
each
tell you
glare a
why I
line
did
drawn
what I
deeper
did.
in the sand.
Because for
Declan
years, I
stormed
was
out,
invisible.
slamming the door so
My
hard the
husband made
frame
me
rattled.
believe I didn't matter, that our
Marissa
vows
sat
didn't
alone,
matter.
shaking,
He
but she
lied to
didn't
me,
cry.
to Jessica, to everyone.
Not this time.
And I
In the
decided I
days
wouldn't
that
be
followed,
invisible
the
anymore.
battle lines grew clearer.
She paused, her
Letters
throat
from
tight.
attorneys flew back and forth.
"I didn't do this to go viral.
Declan hired his own lawyer,
I did it to
a
stand
smug
up for
man
myself.
named Robert Crane,
To
who
stand
seemed
up
more
for every
interested
woman
in
who's ever
intimidation
been
than
silenced,
negotiation.
sidelined, or made
He
to feel
demanded
like she
spousal
wasn't enough.
support, a hefty share
If
of
telling the
Marissa's
truth
savings,
makes me a villain
even
in some
partial
people's
ownership
eyes,
of her
so
small
be it.
graphic design business.
But I won't apologize for demanding
Nathaniel
respect.
scoffed at the demands.
Megan switched
They're
off the
throwing
camera
mud
after
to see
Rachel
what
finished.
sticks, he assured her.
"That," she said,
But we have
smiling,
leverage.
"is exactly what
His
people need to
adultery,
hear."
your documentation,
Michael,
the
meanwhile,
messages.
was fuming in his
It's
apartment.
all admissible.
He had seen Rachel's
Still,
video
the
within an
process
hour
was
of its
exhausting.
release. It was spreading like
Depositions,
wildfire, shared by
statements,
influencers, picked
long
up by
nights
blogs,
sifting through
praised
financial
by women who
records.
saw themselves in her words.
Every step felt like a reminder
threw
of
his phone
Declan's
across the
betrayal,
room,
each legal
cursing.
form a scar etched
"She's
into the
making me
story
look
of their
like the
broken
monster."
marriage.
In his
And yet,
mind,
Marissa
Michael still
found
believed
strength
he
in the
could flip
fight.
the script.
With every meeting,
drove to
every
Rachel's house
signature,
unannounced
she
again,
felt less like a
determined to
victim
see
and more
Sophie.
like a survivor reclaiming
Rachel
her voice.
opened the door only a crack,
One night,
her body
over
blocking
wine
the
with her
entry.
friend Danielle, she
"What do you want,
confessed,
Michael?
I thought this divorce would
I
crush me.
want to see my daughter," he
But
snapped.
honestly,
"You can't
it
keep her
feels like
from
I'm
me."
finally standing up for
Rachel's
myself.
eyes were steel.
Danielle
"You're
squeezed her
not here
hand.
for Sophie.
That's because
You're
you
here
are.
for yourself.
He thought you'd
You
roll
want a
over,
photo op,
but look at
something
you,
you can
you're
post to make
fighting.
yourself look like a victim.
And you're winning."
Not happening.
Marissa smiled faintly,
Michael forced a
realizing
smile,
Danielle was
lowering
right.
his voice like he was
For
negotiating.
so long, she'd been trapped
"Come
in the
on,
shadows of
Ratch.
Declan's lies.
Think
But
about
now,
her.
the battle itself
Think
was
about
pulling
how
her into the
confusing
light.
this must be for her."
The war wasn't over,
Rachel didn't
not by a
budge.
long shot.
"Exactly.
But the battlefield was
Which
set,
is why I'm
and Marissa
protecting
was
her.
ready.
You don't get to weaponize Sophie for sympathy. Not anymore." From the staircase behind her came a small voice. "Mommy? Who's yelling?" Rachel turned, her heart squeezing. Sophie stood in her pajamas, holding her rabbit, eyes wide. Rachel crouched and gathered her close. "It's okay, baby. Daddy was just leaving." Michael's face tightened, fury flickering across his features as Rachel shut the door firmly in his face. For the first time in years, she felt a strange sense of calm. He couldn't control her anymore. Not her, not Sophie, not the truth. That night, Rachel uploaded her video with the caption, "This is my story. No more lies." Within hours, it was everywhere. Michael's carefully crafted posts were buried under waves of support for Rachel, comments from women thanking her, men condemning him, strangers urging her to keep speaking out. Rachel sat on the couch, Sophie asleep upstairs, Megan beside her scrolling through the responses. For the first time in a long time, Rachel didn't feel like she was surviving. She felt like she was fighting back. And winning.
The
Rachel
next
didn't
morning,
sleep that
Marissa
night.
walked into the law
Every
office
time
with
she
her head
closed
high,
her eyes,
even though
she saw
inside,
numbers
her
climbing
chest
on the
felt
screen,
like it was caving
views,
in.
shares,
The
comments.
receptionist smiled politely
By morning,
and ushered her
her
into
video
a
had
polished
been
conference
watched over
room where
3
her
million
attorney,
times.
Nathaniel Pierce,
Her
waited.
phone wouldn't stop buzzing.
He was a sharp man in his
Megan
late
called
40s,
just after
crisp
sunrise.
suit, steel gray hair,
"Rachel,
and
are you
eyes that
sitting
suggested
down?"
he'd seen every trick in the
Rachel,
book.
still in her robe,
Mrs.
rubbed her
Hale,
eyes.
he greeted her firmly,
"What now?"
extending a hand.
"You've been invited on
Or
Good
should I
Morning
say
America.
soon-to-be Ms. Hale.
Tomorrow."
His confidence
Live
steadied
interview.
her nerves.
Rachel's
For
breath
weeks,
caught.
she'd felt cornered,
National
but now,
television.
with someone finally on her
Millions
side,
of viewers.
she felt the faintest flicker
I
of control.
"I can't do
Nathaniel wasted no
that."
time.
"Yes, you can,"
I've
Megan
reviewed
said
your
firmly.
case.
"This is bigger
Infidelity
than
is
you now.
clear, and given his behavior,
gave people
I
a
believe we
voice.
can argue marital
They
misconduct.
want to see you, hear you."
Do you want to pursue alimony,
They want to know you're
or
real.
is this more about closure?
Rachel's first instinct was
Marissa
to say
thought for a
no,
moment.
to retreat.
Money wasn't her first
But she
concern,
thought of Sophie,
then she remembered
sleeping
Declan's
peacefully
smug
upstairs,
face, his
and of the woman
dismissive tone
staring
when she
back at her from
confronted
the
him.
mirror, no longer
He
a
thought
ghost,
he could
no
betray
longer
her and
invisible.
walk away untouched.
Maybe it was time.
No.
Meanwhile,
He had to face
across
consequences.
town, Michael was unraveling.
I want what I deserve,
He sat
she
in a
said
dim bar,
firmly.
scrolling through
I
Rachel's
won't be
video again
humiliated
and
and
again.
left with nothing after 10
Each
years
time
of
he
loyalty.
saw the flood of supportive comments.
Nathaniel
"You're
nodded
so
approvingly.
brave. Thank
Good.
you for speaking out.
Then we'll play offense.
He doesn't deserve you."
That evening,
His
when
blood
Declan
boiled.
came home, Marissa didn't
Jessica,
flinch.
now his wife, had
She was
already
sitting at the
stopped
kitchen
answering his
table,
calls.
her divorce papers
Her
neatly
family
stacked
had
in front of
publicly
her.
distanced themselves,
What's
releasing
this?
a statement about being
Declan
deeply
asked,
misled.
his voice tight.
Even his co-workers had
Papers,
started
she said
whispering in the
evenly.
hallways.
I've filed.
Michael slammed his glass
You'll
down.
hear from my lawyer soon.
"This isn't fair.
His jaw clenched.
She's ruining me."
You're really doing
The man
this.
beside him, a
I'm
stranger,
really doing
glanced
this,
over.
she replied, her
"Maybe you
tone
ruined
calm
yourself."
but laced with steel.
Michael's eyes
For a
narrowed.
moment, he looked stunned,
"You don't know
as though he
anything."
hadn't expected her to
But
actually
deep down,
follow through.
the words stung.
Then, his
By the
face
next
darkened.
morning, Rachel was seated
You
on the
think
set
you're
of
going to
Good
bleed
Morning
me dry?
America, lights glaring,
Take everything I've
microphone
worked
clipped
for.
to her collar.
Marissa
Her
leaned
palms
forward.
sweated, but Megan's reassuring nod
Declan.
from behind the camera steadied
I don't
her.
need to take everything.
The host smiled
I
warmly.
just need to make sure you don't
Rachel
walk away
Miller,
thinking
thank you for
betrayal
being
comes
here.
without a cost.
Millions of people
His
have watched
nostrils
your
flared.
video.
You're
Why do you think your
overreacting.
story resonates so deeply?
Affairs happen.
Rachel took a breath.
People move past them.
Because it's not just
Not
my
this
story.
one, she interrupted
It's
sharply.
the story of so many women
Not
who've
after
been
the
lied
lies,
to,
the
betrayed,
humiliation,
and told to
the way
stay
you
quiet.
reduced me to convenience.
I refuse to stay quiet.
Don't you dare minimize what
The
you did
host
to me.
leaned in.
The
What do
tension
you want
between
people
them
to
was
take away
electric,
from all
each
this?
word a weapon, each glare
Rachel's
a line
voice
drawn
didn't
deeper
shake
in the
this time.
sand.
That you're
Declan
never as
stormed out,
powerless as someone
slamming
makes
the
you
door
feel.
so hard the frame
And
rattled.
that silence only protects the
Marissa
wrong
sat
people.
alone, shaking,
When we
but she
speak,
didn't
we
cry.
take back our lives.
Not this time.
Applause rippled through
In
the
the days
studio.
that followed, the battle
Rachel
lines grew
blinked,
clearer.
overwhelmed.
Letters from
For the
attorneys
first time
flew
in
back and
years,
forth.
she felt seen.
Declan hired his
Michael
own
was
lawyer,
watching from
a
his
smug
apartment,
man named
seething.
Robert Crane, who
He
seemed
couldn't
more
stand it
interested in
anymore. The
intimidation than
sympathy,
negotiation.
the attention, the way
He
Rachel was
demanded
being
spousal
painted as a
support,
hero while
a
he was
hefty
dragged
share of
through the
Marissa's
mud.
savings, even
He opened
partial
his
ownership
laptop
of
and
her
began
small
typing
graphic design
furiously.
business.
By that
Nathaniel
afternoon,
scoffed
he
at
had
the
released a
demands.
video of his own.
They're throwing mud to
Dressed
see
in a
what
crisp
sticks,
shirt,
he
seated
assured
at
her.
his desk, he looked
But we have
directly into the
leverage.
camera.
His
Hello,
adultery,
my name
your
is Michael
documentation,
Thompson.
the messages.
I'm here to tell my side
It's
of the
all
story.
admissible.
Rachel
Still,
has painted me
the
as a
process
monster,
was
but the
exhausting.
truth is far more complicated.
Depositions.
Our marriage was broken
Statements.
long before Jessica
Long
came along.
nights sifting through financial
Rachel
records.
has always struggled with
Every
instability.
step felt like a reminder of Declan's
Emotional
betrayal,
outbursts.
each legal form a
And I
scar etched
stayed,
into the
I
story of
tried,
their broken
because
marriage.
of our daughter.
And yet,
But eventually,
Marissa
I
found
had to
strength
choose
in the fight.
happiness.
With every
paused,
meeting,
his
every
expression
signature,
rehearsed
she
sorrow.
felt less like a victim
Rachel
and more like
isn't
a
the victim
survivor
she
reclaiming
claims
her
to be.
voice.
She's
One
angry,
night,
vindictive,
over wine with
and
her
now
friend
she's
Danielle,
trying to destroy
she
me
confessed,
publicly.
I thought this
I
divorce
love
would
my
crush
daughter,
me.
and I always will,
But honestly,
this smear campaign has
It
to
feels
stop.
like I'm finally
The
standing up for
backlash was
myself.
instant.
Danielle
Rachel
squeezed
watched
her
the video
hand.
on Megan's phone,
That's
her
because
stomach
you are.
twisting.
He
He's
thought
calling
you'd
me
roll
unstable.
over, but look at you,
That's
you're
his
fighting.
defense.
And you're
Typical,
winning.
Megan said flatly.
Marissa smiled faintly,
When men can't
realizing
discredit
Danielle
the truth,
was right.
they discredit the woman.
For so long, she'd
Online,
been trapped
the
in the
comments
shadows of
turned
Declan's
brutal
lies,
for Michael.
but now, the battle
Classic
itself was
gaslighting.
pulling her into the light.
Blaming her emotions
The
while
war
he
wasn't
cheats.
over, not by a long
Pathetic.
shot. But
We
the
saw the wedding
battlefield was
video.
set, and Marissa
You're
was
not
ready.
fooling anyone. Hashtags like #StandWithRachel and #GaslightGate began trending. Memes mocked Michael's polished backdrop and insincere tone. Even late-night comedians joined in, joking about the groom who brought two brides to the altar, one by mistake. Michael had tried to regain control, but instead, he'd handed Rachel even more power. That night, Rachel sat on the couch with Sophie curled against her, the glow of the TV reflecting across the room. Megan scrolled through the flood of supportive messages. You realize you've started a movement, right? Megan said softly. People are calling you a symbol of truth-telling. You're not just a story anymore, you're a voice. Rachel kissed Sophie's hair. Her daughter stirred and mumbled, Mommy? Yes, baby. You're brave. Rachel's throat tightened. She whispered, so are you. And for the first time, Rachel didn't just feel like she was surviving. She felt like she was leading.
The
weeks
next morning,
following Michael's
Marissa walked
disastrous
into the
video
law
felt like
office
a
with her
storm.
head high, even though
Rachel's
inside,
story
her
wasn't just a
chest felt
headline
like it was
anymore,
caving in.
it had become a cultural
The
conversation.
receptionist smiled politely
Talk
and
shows
ushered her
debated
into a
it,
polished
podcasts
conference room where
dissected
her
it,
attorney,
and opinion
Nathaniel
columns
Pierce,
praised Rachel's
waited.
courage while skewering
He
Michael's
was a sharp
arrogance.
man in his late 40s,
But with
crisp
visibility
suit,
came
steel
pressure.
gray hair, and eyes that
Reporters
suggested
camped
he'd
outside
seen every
Rachel's
trick in
modest
the
home in
book.
Portland.
Mrs. Hale,
Paparazzi
he
followed
greeted her
her on
firmly,
school runs.
extending a hand.
Sometimes she
Or
hated
should I
it,
say
the
soon to
flash
be
of
Miss
cameras
Hale.
when all she wanted was to
His
buy
confidence
milk.
steadied
But
her
then
nerves.
she'd remember the women who sent her
For
letters,
weeks,
hundreds
she'd
of
felt
them,
cornered,
sharing their
but
own
now,
stories
with
of
someone
betrayal and
finally on her
survival.
side, she felt the
She
faintest
realized
flicker
this
of
wasn't
control.
just attention.
Nathaniel
It was
wasted no
validation.
time.
Still,
reviewed your
the real
case.
test wasn't the public, it was the
Infidelity is
court.
clear, and given his
Michael,
behavior, I
desperate to
believe we
salvage
can
his
argue marital
reputation, had
misconduct.
filed for custody of Sophie.
Do you want to pursue alimony,
His claim,
or is this more about closure?
that Rachel was unfit,
Marissa
citing
thought
the
for a
very
moment.
lies he'd spewed in his video.
Money wasn't her
instability,
first concern,
vindictiveness,
but then she
emotional
remembered Declan's
volatility.
smug face, his
Rachel
dismissive
sat in the
tone when she
courtroom,
confronted
her
him.
hands trembling slightly
He
in
thought
her
he
lap
could
as her
betray her
attorney
and walk
whispered,
away
"We've got
untouched.
this.
No,
Don't let him rattle you."
he had to face
Michael
consequences.
strutted in, clean-shaven,
I want
wearing
what I
a tailored
deserve,
navy
she
suit,
said firmly.
carrying the smug confidence
I
of a
won't be
man who thought he could
humiliated
talk
and
his
left with
way out of
nothing after
anything.
10 years of loyalty.
But as testimony unfolded,
Nathaniel
cracks
nodded
appeared.
approvingly.
Jessica
Good.
never showed to support him.
Then we'll play offense.
His former colleagues,
That evening,
subpoenaed,
when Declan
reluctantly
came home,
confirmed whispers
Marissa
of his
didn't
office
flinch.
affair.
She
And
was
when
sitting
Rachel's
at the
attorney
kitchen
played the
table,
clip of
her
Michael's
divorce
own
papers
wedding,
neatly
him
stacked
looking
in front of
panicked
her.
as Rachel stormed into
What's
the church,
this?
the courtroom gasped.
Declan asked, his voice
Michael's
tight.
face flushed crimson.
Papers, she said
He
evenly.
tried to object, to spin
I
it, but
filed.
the judge wasn't buying it.
You'll hear from my lawyer
The
soon.
ruling came 2 weeks
His
later.
jaw clenched.
Rachel sat on
"You're
her
really
porch,
doing this?"
clutching the court letter,
"I'm
tears
really doing
streaming
this,"
down her cheeks.
she replied, her tone
Sole
calm
custody.
but laced with steel.
Full parental
For
rights.
a moment, he looked stunned,
Michael had been
as though
granted
he hadn't
visitation,
expected her
but
to
heavily
actually follow
restricted and
through.
supervised.
Then, his
When
face
Sophie
darkened.
came bouncing out of the house,
"You think you're going
Rachel
to bleed
lifted
me
her
dry?
into her arms.
Take everything
We
I've
did
worked
it,
for."
sweetheart, she whispered.
Marissa leaned forward.
We're safe.
"No, Declan.
Sophie tilted her head,
I don't
confused.
need to take everything.
From Daddy?
I just need to make sure you
Rachel's
don't walk
heart
away
ached.
thinking betrayal comes without
From
a
his
cost."
mistakes.
His
But you'll
nostrils
always
flared.
have me.
"You're
Michael's fall
overreacting.
was swift and brutal.
Affairs happen.
His law firm placed
People
him on
move past
indefinite
them.
leave, citing
Not
ethical
this one,"
concerns.
she interrupted sharply.
Jessica filed for an annulment,
"Not after the
her
lies,
family
the
making it clear
humiliation,
she'd been
the
deceived
way
as
you
well.
reduced me to convenience.
He moved into a cheap apartment,
Don't you dare
far from the
minimize what
glittering
you did to
neighborhood
me."
he'd once boasted about.
The tension between them was
One
electric,
evening,
each
as he
word
sat
a weapon,
alone with a
each
bottle
glare
of
a
whiskey,
line drawn deeper
scrolling
in
through
the
the
sand.
endless barrage of memes mocking
Declan
him,
stormed out,
he muttered to
slamming
himself,
the door
how
so
did it all
hard the
slip
frame
away?
rattled.
But deep
Marissa
down,
sat
he
alone,
knew.
shaking, but
He'd
she
tried to
didn't
build
cry.
happiness on lies,
Not
and
this
lies
time.
had a way of crumbling under
In
the
the
weight
days
of
that
truth.
followed, the battle
For
lines
Rachel,
grew clearer.
life didn't snap back to
Letters
normal.
from attorneys flew back
It
and
built
forth.
into something new.
Declan hired his
She
own
accepted
lawyer,
an offer
a
to write a
smug man
book,
named
part
Robert
memoir,
Crane,
part
who seemed
rallying
more
cry for
interested in
women who'd been
intimidation than
silenced.
negotiation.
She titled it
He
When the Bride
demanded
Walked
spousal
In.
support, a hefty
At the
share
launch
of
event
Marissa's
months later,
savings,
she looked
even
out at a
partial
sea of
ownership of her
faces,
small graphic
strangers,
design business.
supporters, survivors,
Nathaniel
who had come
scoffed
to
at
hear
the
her speak.
demands.
She
"They're
told them the
throwing mud
truth,
to see what
not
sticks,"
just about
he
betrayal,
assured her.
but about resilience.
"But we have leverage."
I once thought being cheated
His
on was the
adultery,
worst
your
thing that could happen to
documentation,
me,
the
she
messages.
said into the microphone.
It's all admissible.
But I was wrong.
Still,
The worst
the
thing would have
process
been
was
staying
exhausting.
silent, letting someone else write my
Depositions.
story.
Statements.
Taking back my voice was the bravest
Long
thing
nights
I've ever
sifting
done.
through financial records.
The audience erupted in applause.
Every step felt like a reminder
Afterward,
of Declan's
as she
betrayal,
packed up,
each legal
Sophie
form a
tugged her
scar
hand.
etched into the story of their broken
Mommy,
marriage.
when I'm big, can I write
And
a book
yet,
too?
Marissa found strength
Rachel
in the
crouched
fight.
down, smiling
With
through
every
tears.
meeting, every signature,
Of course.
she felt less like a victim
can
and
tell
more like a
whatever story
survivor
you want.
reclaiming her voice.
Even about you?
One night, over
Sophie
wine with her
giggled.
friend Danielle, she
Especially
confessed,
about me.
"I thought this divorce
They
would
laughed
crush me.
together, mother and daughter,
But honestly,
no longer shadows in someone
It
else's
feels like
life,
I'm
but the
finally
center of
standing
their
up
own."
for myself."
And somewhere,
Danielle
in a dark
squeezed her
apartment across
hand.
town, Michael
"That's
scrolled through
because you
Rachel's
are.
book announcement on his phone.
He thought you'd roll over,
He saw
but
the
look at
photo,
you, you're
Rachel
fighting.
radiant, Sophie beaming
And
at
you're
her
winning.
side, and something inside
Marissa
him
smiled
twisted.
faintly, realizing
Not anger
Danielle
this
was
time.
right.
Not
For
even
so
regret.
long, she'd been trapped in
Just
the
a
shadows
hollow,
of Declan's
aching
lies.
awareness that he'd
But
lost
now,
everything
the
real
battle
for something
itself was
fleeting.
pulling her into the light.
The world had moved on.
The war wasn't over,
And
not
so
by a
had
long
she.
shot.
Rachel
But the
stepped out of the
battlefield was
bookstore
set,
into the
and
cool
Marissa
evening
was
air,
ready.
hand in hand with Sophie. The cameras flashed, but this time she didn't flinch. She smiled, knowing the story that had begun with betrayal had ended with freedom. And as they walked toward the future, she whispered to her daughter, "The truth always wins, baby. Always."